Someone needs to get this message to the defense. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Have to use brain power. Let me help out Dr. Russell here.
Many people suffer from what's called an acute grief reaction.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
The investigation was done with honor, integrity, and all the evidence pointed in one direction only.
Buchanan was so defensive and unable to throw Proctor under the bus because he loved him.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Then we add what we know about Michael Proctor. This guy is just the world's biggest. On every level that a person could be, between incompetence and stupidity, Michael Proctor wins the award for a combination of both. They killed him. Who are all the powers that be? Look at the smile on his face. That's what happened. That's what happened. So she doesn't actually want them to get here quickly, and that's the reason why she doesn't say there's an officer down. Meet the Bar Association of Norfolk County's Person of the Year.
I routinely do when I work with attorneys, okay? I prepare this on my own.
Oh my God. See? You see it? It is undeniable.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Holy you guys. Build some way to feed her ego. So if you have absolutely nothing to do with the death of John O'Keefe, why start crying on the stand? Hank Brennan deserves an award for being the most unlikable human being that the world has ever seen. Consciousness of guilt. I would really like somebody to do the right thing in this case.
Sergeant Barrows, is this the condition of the right rear taillight?
Absolutely not.
At no point do you wake up or go outside and say to somebody, why are you here? What if there was a gunman? Because you don't know. How do I know? There's 40 cops in front of my very small front yard. That's the bedroom window. Here's Sonny. Say hi, everybody. There's my friend. Hello. Sonny barks if you walk by my window and sneeze.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I wasn't going to record a video today, but then I stumbled upon this. Peter met with Adam Lally for lunch. During this lunch, Adam Lally told Peter that he knows the poor person. Oh my God. This is not good.
Now you're starting to see the blurs easier.
You see those two blurs?
Are moving around.
She absolutely knows it would not be Karen Reed's defense team that she'd have to worry about. It would be the defense who she lied to.
Is the defendant not guilty or guilty?
A juror explaining why she voted to acquit Karen Reed of that second-degree murder charge for allegedly ramming her SUV into John O'Keefe during a blizzard in 2022.
A collision did not occur. I can't assess the motive to this sloppy police investigation.
And the toughest moment for her? Hearing the derogatory text messages about Reed sent by lead homicide investigator Michael Proctor just hours after he got the case.
Whatever timestamp was on that deleted wall file is the time that she did that search. And she deleted it. Let's make sure and pin it on this girl who I hope kills herself. That's a class act. You are a class act, Michael Proctor. Definitely someone should give you a gun and a badge. 100% sure that Karen did not do this.
Number one is I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially and, more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have.
How dare they?
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the I Don't Belong Here show, and I am your host, Samantha Beningo. I am a behavioral scientist, a career psychotherapist, a sixth-year PhD candidate in clinical psychology, a master's level psychologist and counselor. And today, we are bringing into our conversation right away the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Turtleboy, Mr. Aidan Kearney.
Thank you for having me, Samantha.
Thank
How
you
are
for coming. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say. It's very surreal for me. I will just start with that because never in a million lifetimes, 5 months ago, when I'm even thinking about the second trial coming up, am I thinking, yeah, in 5 months from now, I'm going to be on a live stream with Aidan Kearney. No problem. So it's very surreal, but I thank you for coming. It is an honor. And before anything else, I want to make sure I don't forget to say to you directly, thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for bringing justice to Norfolk County, at least to this point.
Well, you're welcome, and I appreciate that, and it's my pleasure. I was just doing my job, and this story just kind of happened, and this was just what I do. So this wasn't the plan. I swear to God, I wasn't trying to save anything or anyone. I was just trying to write about a story of corruption. It just kind of took on a life of its own.
So that's actually something I wanted to ask you about. Before this story, were you focused on corruption in terms of like law enforcement, or not really? Like, is this kind of a newer focus?
I mean, I wrote about a variety of topics. I've been doing this for 11 years. And so I was about 9 years into it when I first found the Karen Reed story. But, I've written about some stories of police corruption, especially involving the state police before. I did a big story in 2017 involving state police arresting a woman who was driving under the influence of heroin, and she was the judge of a daughter, and she offered sexual services to the arresting trooper in exchange for not taking her heroin. And basically the powers that be asked the state trooper to redact his report and get rid of that really embarrassing quote from her, and he wouldn't do it. And he's actually from Canton, and the state trooper, and he wouldn't do it because that's what she said. And so he ended up getting in trouble, and a bunch of other troopers contacted me about it. And I wrote about it, and it led to this like huge scandal called Troopergate, in which several of the highest ranking members of the state police had to resign. And then 3 months later, I stumbled upon another story involving the state police. I found out that a trooper who had been like kind of heralded on billboards and stuff, she was a very good looking woman. Her name was Leah Genduso, and she was a trooper, and she had kind of been used as like join the force ladies kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a canine handler. Well, as it turns out, she was about 10 years prior to this, she was arrested and for dealing drugs. Well, pot, but she laundered like $350,000 in drug money, including $20,000 in cash that she gave to Hank Brennan. And yeah, it was a crazy story. And anyway, so they ended up hiring her anyway after that. And I found this out. I'm like, what? This chick's a trooper. So I wrote about it. She ended up getting fired. And it led to another huge scandal. So long story short, I have written about stories of corruption before, just none that took off this much. And I used to write about a variety of topics, exposing grifters and, sometimes just anything going on in the community that people would send me about. They wanted exposing. I would do that. So, but this was the story that kind of I knew there would be a story one day that just blew this up. And it was the Karen Reed story.
Yeah, sure was. And now you're a big part of that story, right? Which I don't know if people really appreciate the extent to which your story and what they've done to try to silence you directly connects to the Karen Reed story and to, who killed John O'Keefe, right? Because when you look at this timeline, I mean, the mega motion is just so beautifully written and the timeline is so clear. When you saw all this discovery coming in, did you know, did you have a sense that they were on you basically from the first moment that you wrote a single word about them?
Yeah, it was kind of flattering reading through that. I'm like, wow, I really got to these guys early on, huh?
Right away.
They were like within days, they were responding, figuring out how to respond to this, and they just couldn't. And, my favorite was when Morrissey emailed the Attorney General in July and was like, hey, hook a brother up. Like, can you charge this guy with witness intimidation? They were like, nah. And so it's like, I had no idea that Morrissey was doing that until we got his emails, which, by the way, we only found out about that email account because he used it to communicate with judges and get a woman fired at the Stoughton district court. A clerk there had alerted me that Chris Albert was down there trying to get an order on me, and she got me the publicly available affidavit that he wrote to try to have me get an HPO on me.
Right.
And so she ended up getting fired, and in doing so, like, they had to give her all documents showing how they found out that she was behind this. And Morrissey had written an email to the bosses at Stoughton District Court saying, you got to find out who did this. And he used a burner email address to do that. And so we ended up FOIAing or requesting and it turns out he uses that email a lot for government business, which is, I guess you could just do that. It's highly unethical. You're not allowed to do that. Anyone else would be fired for that. But when you're elected, I suppose the only people who could fire you are the voters.
Well, hopefully that's what happens here soon. It's unimaginable to me. It's people aren't really paying attention. I mean, how else does this guy get elected to begin with? And Morrissey there's nothing appealing about the man on any level, unless I guess people are paying him to do their bidding for them.
Yeah, unless you're into fat guys, but
right.
Old fat guys. But yeah, I mean, he's he's just the typical entrenched Massachusetts politician. He's been elected. He's been in office, I think, for 46 years in various. He was in the state legislature prior to this, because in Massachusetts, it's like, getting elected is a business, and you have to be in the Democratic Party. You're not going to get elected if you're not. You just have to network and know the right people and raise money every year. And like clockwork, the machine will get behind you and you won't have to do anything. Most of the time you ran unopposed. And so, that's what happens when you live in kind of like a one-party state is people like Morrissey get very comfortable in their positions.
Right. I mean, I didn't know anything about local government, local politics. This case showed me how much power these prosecutors have. I mean, just unchecked, and nobody's paying attention. It's wild.
Yeah. Nobody. So, well, they are now.
They are now.
It's like, and I think that's what I really did was raise awareness about what was happening. It wasn't enough to just say that Karen Reed was framed and the McAlberts are responsible, but like, who is responsible for covering up for them? Who is responsible for this whole sham prosecution? Now, that would be the district attorney's office, wouldn't it? And especially the DA's office in Massachusetts, where each DA in each county has their own almost like Keystone Cop little posse of detectives who work at their beck and call and donate to their campaigns. As we saw, like Buchanan is given and Tully give money to Morrissey every year. And that's just a wild concept.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Tully is like his private bulldog, right? That's like it's like his personal bodyguard, bulldog, watchdog. I don't even know what to call it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Tully is their guy. He was their guy. He's unlike Proctor. You will never see a text message from Tully talking about a woman's ass or anything like that. Like, he's smarter than that.
Smarter than that.
He's the scariest one of them all because he's so crafty, and when he's on the stand, he was just cold as ice up there. Like, he seemed completely if he was nervous at all, he didn't let it on, did he, on the stand? Like, he seemed, and his answers were just so reassuring. Like he was sounded so self-reassured, like about why he didn't, like, common sense tells you that if you find out that a plow driver saw a Ford Edge parked next to where you claim a dead body was, you better find that driver. Like, how do you explain that? And Tully got on the stand and he was like, no, we just didn't think it was a credible tip. Oh, why not? We believe he's coached into it, and the color was wrong. And so from my experience, not something that we would look into. And he just says it so cold, and he's wearing a suit and looks professional, and he's bald. So like the jury this guy must know what he's talking about. He's pretty bald, looks like
a cop.
Yeah, it looks like a cop. Like, that guy he's real bald. So I got trust him. I'd like to wax his head there,
Yeah.
And so I guess they just believe this guy because I get why they would.
Yeah. And they were asking one question. I just caught this. I mean, I've watched it so many times, and I've watched Tully so many times, but I caught it the other day. They were asking, why didn't you search? The CERT team does not search the lawn. And he's asked directly, like, why didn't you search the lawn? And the answer is just a nothing answer, because the shovel, he says something like, because, well, the shovels were plastic and they just, didn't hit the grass or something. You're like, that wasn't an answer, but exactly what you're saying. He just like sells it.
He sells it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
and he is behind everything. Like, he's CC'd on every email that Morrissey's on. Like, he picked Shannon Burgess up at the airport, or Judd Welcher up at the airport. He flew to Houston to be there for the chip off. He came to my house. He was the one that read me my rights in the driveway. The fugitive unit came to my house to arrest me, and they did put me in handcuffs, and I turn around and Tully's right there with a card reading my rights out. It's like, this is not his county, but he was like, I'm going to be there. And he was in my house, and he was there for the booking, and I made him call me daddy. And, so I had that go for me, but,
Well, I wonder too, like, so when they should, during that time, right, there they are. So I wonder exactly when. I guess you may have some sense, but it's pretty quick. Because like you said, Morrissey tries to get somebody else, the feds, to do it for him, to try to find something to charge you with. But then, the McAlberts keep putting pressure on him. And the most obvious tell to me is the fact that they never considered a defamation suit.
Yeah, I check my mailbox every day waiting for my defamation suit, because I've been making some pretty strong allegations the last couple of years. I've been straight up calling people murderers every day, profiting off of it, right? Like, literally up here every day begging for a lawsuit. And I've been told for years, oh, dude, the lawsuit's going to come. First, it was, we'll wait till the trial's over, then the lawsuits are going to come. It's been like 4 months, bro. I don't know when these lawsuits are coming, but there's a 3-year statute of limitations in Massachusetts. So, like, you better hurry up. You're running out of time to get these lawsuits in. And so, yeah, I mean, Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert. I mean, when do the lawsuits come in? I'm waiting, boys.
Right. And the fact that Jennifer McCabe was so unnerved when that week in April in 2023, she's got the feds at her house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then she gets, Jackson sort of drops that affidavit, and it has like the whole case laid out. And then you're writing about it minutes later,
mm-hmm.
and they're immediately on top of you to try to shut you down immediately.
Yeah, unnerved is a good word to describe that. Like, that is how I can't imagine what she must have felt like that week. Like, after getting away with that for a year and 2 or 3 months, then to finally just one day, the first sign that something's wrong is the FBI shows up at your house. Nothing. That was step one. Like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. And she did not know what to do. So she lied. Like, that was just wild. And then the motion comes out 2 days later. So that explains why the FBI was at her house. Like, fuck. Like, if you're her in that moment, you're going to jail. Like, you're going to federal prison.
Panic.
Like, you're fucked. Like, you're pulling a Donna Adelson. You're looking at like flights to Vietnam and shit. Like, you're like, do I leave, or should I stay? like, I don't know. What do we do? Like, but instead she just doubled down, and she was just like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to keep pretend. Like, she hired Kevin Reddington, a well-renowned defense attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And, he told her, just keep living your life. Keep doing. Reddington put out a press release like a couple days after I broke the story on April 18th, saying that he had done she had taken a lie detector test and passed it with flying colors. And a lot of people forget that. I'm waiting to see the results of that lie detector. It sounds about as real as the picture that she has testified many times that was sent to her in the mail of like her daughter getting semen on her face.
Right.
Like it sounds about as real as that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I heard that too. I just heard that. I don't know where I heard it, but I just heard about the lie detector test. And I thought, because if you're innocent, right, like you're Jennifer McCabe, wouldn't you do, like, I would be doing everything I could, just give it up, show everything. Like, I didn't do anything. Look at my cell phone, look at where I was, look at my GPS. I'd be trying to find ways to say I'm an innocent person. That's not what this group does. I mean, not in any way, shape, or form.
Tell them the guy never went in the house. That's what they do. What they delete things. They have really bad excuses for covering it up about why things are deleted. Why does it have 100? Why are there 20 deleted phone calls here? I don't know. And then we'll let Jessica Hyde explain that. Well, you see, because there's sausage and nachos and pancakes, that means that your phone calls just get deleted. Once you have 200 calls in there, they start deleting. I'm like, do they really? Do they, Jessica? Or we got emails between you and Tully showing that you're basically, you will say whatever Tully pays you to say. You've made that pretty clear, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Here's what I'm going to cost. This is what you're going to have to pay me for this. What a disgrace. It is such a total disgrace. It really, really is. So the charges, I don't actually think I know this. I mean, I know that they have X amount of witness intimidation charges, but you also have another case still pending, right? Like that's involved with Lindsay Catani. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, she's got a witness intimidation charge too. From the Christmas Eve incident that sent me to jail. Okay. That one's going to be dropped because I think what's today? Today Wednesday? Yeah, yes. Today's Wednesday, right? So they have 23 more days to find a prosecutor for that because the prosecutor has recused himself because he's being sued by her. Mm-hmm. So that was a move we didn't see coming. And tomorrow we're going to have another motion filed. It's going to be awesome. It's about 28 pages so far from the draft I've read. Should be filed tomorrow. We are asking him to recuse himself. He recused himself from her case, which is a different indictment. The primary indictments with the McAlberts that I was originally charged for, we're going to ask him to recuse himself from those as well, because she is undeniably a witness in the McAlbert case. So she's going to have, he can't be the prosecutor. And then good luck finding another one. Also, she threatened to sue the district attorney, which makes him a potential defendant against, she wrote a letter demanding that she get paid $50,000 or else she's going to sue them, which makes him a potential defendant, which means he can no longer assign someone to be a prosecutor, because if he were to assign, a special prosecutor to take this case, well, that special prosecutor now would have an interest in discrediting Lindsay Catani, right? Because she's threatening to sue the DA, but they also need to bolster. She has to be credible for this case against me. Like, they can't do it. There's literally no scenario in which they can do this.
Wow. That's so interesting, right? Because they're also leaning on some of her, testimony, her behavior, some of her actions. So they need her to be credible on one hand, but if they give her credit, the more that they make her credible, the more that they sort of inherently make the allegations credible that she's
right. Right. Exactly.
That's insane. It's just what a freaking disaster this is, right? I mean, the mess that this DA made. Now, you may know this, you may not. When a district attorney comes in, is it like a football coach where you can bring in your whole new team, or do you have to keep the personnel that are in that office? So when he's replaced, when Morrissey's out, what happens to that?
Oh,
group?
One of the people running against him, a woman by the name of Juna Perkins, she said that she's going to clean house, as far as especially with the state police detectives unit attached to the Norfolk County DA's office, just cleaning house. So, I would assume they can. I don't know if they could. I mean, I think the whole thing needs a cleansing, up to the victim witness advocates, ADAs, anybody who's part of this regime, I think is just dirty and can't be trusted.
Yeah. Did you have a sense of these people, of the Norfolk County DA's office? Did you know that this group had any sort of leanings towards corruption, right? I guess there was the Sandra Birchmore case. I'm not sure how much you had been sort of tracking that before, because I don't know if that.
Yeah, I mean, I before Matthew Farwell was charged with murder, I'd written about it and I believed it was a suicide because that's how it was presented. And why this is this is before Karen Reed. So I'm like, I wrote about it and I'm like, my take was that this is horrible. And they drove this girl to the point of suicide. That's how it seemed to me. It was they still seemed like scumbags, right? I didn't know they were murderers, that was news to me. And then this Kirk Minahan podcast came along, The Case with Barstool Sports, and they really, and I'm friends with Kirk. So I've had many conversations with him about it. And he's kind of the guy that talked to me. He's like, I think he killed her. And I'm like, really? I'm like, that's crazy. And so I looked, I trusted him and he was right, as it turns out. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he ends up getting arrested. And, you know, my issue with the Sandra Birchmore case is that it's not just enough to arrest Matthew Farwell. Like,
Right.
why are we not doing something about John Fanning and Matthew Dunn and Nicholas Garino and the Cam police who responded to a murder scene and called it a suicide just within 5 seconds? And that was the end of that. And not only that, Kirk told me that like he had many conversations with John Fanning, and he would like that John Fanning kind of like almost laughed at the idea that Sandra Birchmore was killed. And, you know, John Fanning is from Stoughton and Matthew Farwell was from Stoughton. They both went to Stoughton High School. And so it's just like, he just would not, these cops don't even consider the fact that another cop is capable of committing a crime. It's just not something that they even will humor for a second.
Right.
And that's the problem. But Michael Proctor was able to get away with what he did because he knew that Bukaki and Tully and Fanning and Morrissey, none of them were going to do anything about him. He could do whatever he wants. And he knows that. That's what he says in the text message on September 3rd. What's the difference? Why aren't we just arresting him? Right. It's like, because like, come on, guys, we're the cops. We get to do whatever we want. You know, why aren't we just arresting him? I'm really mad.
Yeah.
He wrote a blog about me and he made fun of me. He said he's going to teach my kids to throw a spiral football. I'm so mad about it. And like, why don't we have guns and badges, right? Why don't we just arrest them? Come on, let's go.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's what you get from him. I mean, that's what those text messages are. He was a symptom. He was just like, you know, the mouthpiece, or, you know, like, you know what, like the virus, but you could see that the hosts were right behind him, right? It was the thumbs up from Buchanan that was more alarming than the words coming out of Proctor's mouth, because Proctor's clearly like a nobody. He's a trooper. He's a nobody.
Yeah, Buchanan and came across worse than Proctor. He just is. I mean, Proctor came across on the stand like a goofus. Like, this guy is just a fucking complete joke. Just a complete freaking joke.
He is.
Whereas like, and I don't think he has military experience or anything like that. Whereas like Buchanan got up there, former Marine, right? He carries himself like former military, just his whole like demeanor on the stand is military, Eastern European military. He reminds me of like the KGB, you know, his thing up here with the cuffs and, you know, the cockiness and the arrogance and, you know, like just, he just seemed evil. Like just, you are. And the jury saw that. They were just like, this guy, something ain't right with this guy. This guy's, I can't trust this guy. And this was a much better jury this time. It was a younger jury. It was a more diverse jury. And I think that they were just less likely to blindly believe the police this time around.
Oh, without a doubt. Absolutely. And I think even one of them, I forget which one, maybe it was juror number 11, who said he was like the first, that it was Buchanan's testimony that was like the first sort of, wait a minute, something's not right here for them.
It was 3 days of testimony, and it was just, it was so much worse than in the first trial. Like, this is answers about like, I need, it's my third, do you have a dictionary? Like, do you know, it's my third language. I mean, there was one point when Alan Jackson asked him a question. It was like a hard question. I forgot what it was. And Buchanan just sat there and stared for like 15 seconds. And he's like, is that a question?
Yeah.
It was just like so difficult. Everything with him was like, that's there. Yeah, there's a question. He has to repeat it.
Right.
Like, whenever things got tough, he was just so quick to have some sort of way out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, a question, I'm kind of bouncing around because I just have so many questions in my head just from what you just said. You're in that courtroom, right? So you were in there, you know, pretty much every day through the first trial, right? And then a lot of the time through the second. Is that a fair assessment of how often
I kept losing the lottery. There was a lottery for the second trial, and I lost like 5 weeks in a row, and John DePietro went every week.
Right.
So, like, I got in like the first 2 weeks of the trial, and then I started just showing up. I even though I'd lose the lottery, they allowed, like, some people didn't show up, and so I would just be there and like get in for like a standby. So I ended up getting in a lot, and I was there for closing statements, and most importantly, I was there for the verdict.
Right, of course, which I want to get into. But before we get to that, did you in terms of just like the vibe being in both trials, did you sense that they kind of came off different? The cadence was different. Did you feel like they were just a very sort of fundamentally different experiences?
Who's they? Oh, just the trial, like everyone.
Just the trial, just everything, the whole thing.
Yeah, it was very different. I mean, there were two totally different trials. Like the first trial was more entertaining. It was the McAlberts were on the stand. Like they were great entertainment. Proctor took the stand. Higgins, like some Colin Albert, like some of the best witnesses were not Tristan Morris. Like there was some Joe Paul, like Brian Tully, like some of the legends were not called in the second trial. So it was a very different trial. It lasted the same amount of days. Whereas the second trial was like a lot more science focused, physics focused, expert focused. And the defense took 2 weeks as opposed to 2 days. And their witnesses were stronger this time around. Like Lucky Loughran was much stronger in the second trial than he was in the first trial. They didn't have anything like Dr. La Posada. Nothing like her.
Amazing.
Yeah,
wow. She was a home run.
That's my girl. I love her with every ounce of my being. And I get like a twinkle in my eye whenever someone mentions Dr. La Posada. But yeah, I mean, like the crash, because like she showed like the Crash Daddies. I think the Crash Daddies were better in the first trial than they were in the second one. Dr. Wolf, he was great, but he seemed phased in the second trial because he had been through so much. His family had, been harassed for going on a Facebook group. He just seemed nervous, whereas in the first trial, he just seemed confident and charming as he should, because he's a tall, handsome, dark-haired man. And so, but I don't know, just like it was a different vibe in there. It was a very different looking jury. And so they're, I don't know. It was just, I was nervous. I wasn't nervous in the first trial. The first trial was fucking pure entertainment. And I'm just like, because I'd never even considered anything but a really quick acquittal. The second trial, I know, of course, that this is possible that she could be convicted. So like, I just was so much more nervous for the second trial.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And the first trial, you're right. I can only imagine what Joe Paul is like to be in the room and not losing my. I mean, I can't imagine keeping a straight face. I can't even imagine.
So funny. And jurors didn't. Several jurors didn't. And including juror number 3, who I've become good friends with. She was like making like, what? Of course, she got dismissed on the final day. She didn't get to deliberate.
Of course,
people making all the faces didn't get to deliberate, but they were just like, what? Yeah. What is going on here with this guy? So yeah, I mean, like instead we got Judd Welcher, who saw, like Joe Paul was so much more fun than Judd Welcher is so horrible, like just so detestable, unlikable, like whatever.
Difficult.
But we did have some moments of lightness in the second trial. Like Shannon Burgess' entire testimony was lighthearted. Like that was hilarious. Like,
it was
watching
funny.
That guy.
It was
just the way he looked.
Yeah.
Like his hairline.
And
I don't
the
know what that was.
sweating and the red face, the whole
I don't
thing.
know. He had like a soul patch or something. I don't even know it. I've never seen facial hair like that before. And vehicle, his accent, just getting caught lying about shit. Like you didn't know that was coming. And then there's the Hank Brennan factor, of course.
Right.
That we didn't have. Hank Brennan was more entertaining than Adam Lally. Adam Lally was freaking boring. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What if anything? Oh,
he's such a scumbag though. Lally to me is like, he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing to me. After I go back and I listen to the way he asks questions, he's just such a scumbag. I have a hard time with Lally now in retrospect.
Yeah, he's not some innocent person just doing his job. Like he's choosing to do this. He has to know he can't be this. Not everyone on that side can be this stupid. They all can't be this stupid.
Agreed.
Someone in there is like has to be thinking in their head, this ain't right. Like what's going on here? But they're just not but they're just too gutless and scared to stand up for it. I don't know. I would, if that was my job, I would just get a new job somewhere else. I'd say I ain't doing this.
I can't even imagine. I don't get it. I think just fundamentally how you could. And so it sounds like you think, because this is a really big question for me. I'm curious what you would say to this. So for me, I kind of always assumed that while the MSP were certainly helping the Alberts in the house, right? I mean, planting taillight, for example, would be assisting, right? But do you actually think that, like Michael Proctor thinks that Karen Reed is innocent?
It's a good question. That's a really good question. I assumed before going into the trial that he knew she was innocent and was just like, whatever. I don't know. I don't know I think he has to know. Deep down inside, he has to know. But at the same time, what I think happened was I think he has to know because he planted taillight. So but at the same time, he could have truly believed that she did it. And he's like, well, we need to make our case stronger.
Right.
That's why they planted taillight, is because they just and they've probably done stuff like this before with defendants who are guilty. And they're like, bro, he's not going to get convicted if we don't have a little more evidence. We need, and it's okay. And they probably sleep well at night because it's like, well, she's guilty anyway. So fuck it. She kind of deserves it, fuck her. She's a whack job, right? She's a whack job,
Yep.
He thought she was a whack job real early. And you think about, he called her a whack job cunt on the 29th, I believe. He sent that text message.
Yeah.
What were his interactions with her prior to that? Going to her parents' house, right? That's it. That was the only interaction he had with her, is when he interviewed her briefly and took her car. And based on that interaction, he had determined that she was a whack job cunt.
Right.
So did you really think that? How could you possibly think that at that point? He's just a douche.
Well, I think it was just Jennifer McCabe and talking to Mike Lank and talking to Sergeant Good, right? Throughout the day.
Yep. She had poisoned the well. She poisoned the well. She had, and she's very good at it, as you can see. And she was a busy beaver on that. I have her whole cell phone extraction from January 29th to February 2nd. And boy, was she a busy beaver. She was in and out of 3 different modes. She had it's crazy when you read the messages one after another. And the way, she would go through, okay, so she's texting in the family group chat about, I'm talking about kids and shit, talking about playing time with the kids. She's also a helicopter parent who's up the ass.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, this is not getting enough playing time. Got to get to this girl. So she would do that. She would talk about that. And then she would shift to the family group chat between Nicole, Matt, Brian, and her. And that was just what's going on? What's going on over there? What are they doing? Tell them the guy never went in the house. Oh, it's cops here. Why the fuck are the cops here?
Oh.
And then she would shift over to all of the people as the days would go on, and this was in the news. Everyone in her phone reached out to her oh my God, I just saw that this was you. Is everything okay? This was your friend. Oh my God, shock and horror. And so she would shift out of these 3 phases. There was the soccer mom stuff about playing time. And then there was the group. Oh, tell them they never went in the house. And then oh my God, I'm so sad.
Right. The grieving victim.
Yeah. In one of the things that's redacted in our mega motion. Oh my God, I wish I could talk about it.
It's the
funniest shit.
Nuts.
The text message. Wait till you guys, I can't wait till this comes out. Just remember this one. The text message that Kerry Roberts sends on February 1st around 10:30 or 11. They're going to bed.
Okay.
They know that the arraignment, Karen Reed has just been arrested. They find out about it, and they're discussing who's going to go to the arraignment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And before they go to sleep, Kerry Roberts sends a text message to Jennifer McCabe that you are going to fucking die when you read this text message. It is the funniest shit I've ever, we were cracking. I'm oh my God, Karen Reed's team has never seen this before, clearly, because they would have mentioned this in the trial. I can't fucking wait.
And it's all because of them. They're doing this, right? They came after you. The same thing with the O'Keefe family. It's did you not consider that because of this case, all these people are going to be deposed? All of this evidence is going to be forced out onto the table that would have not ever come out if you didn't go after Aidan and if you don't go after Karen Reed anymore.
It's ironic, isn't it? We would never know any of this stuff had I not been arrested. As a journalist, by arresting me. They gave me access to documents that no other reporters have that I will be able to blast everywhere when this is over.
Right. Now that's an interesting question. I never even thought about it. So like to get his emails, right? He's the DA. How does that work? Isn't he the one that has to essentially corral his emails and send them over?
I don't know how they do it. I don't really care. We just came in a file. We read them all.
Well, I'm saying like, I mean,
Yeah.
don't you get to censor them then?
Do we get to censor? Oh, them?
No, I mean him.
No,
like,
they don't get. I mean, there's some stuff in there that's redacted, like private information, stuff like that. But the contents of what they're talking about, we get to see it all. Like we don't see the Attorney General's response to it's redacted to his inquiry. So, like, I bet you she said that it's not witness intimidation, and we don't get to see that. Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be interesting. Well, I know there was one. I think this was one of the back and forth where the secretary, whoever he's talking to, says, well, they have a very different version of the case. I think that was the way it said. Like, they have a very different understanding of the case than you.
Oh, yeah. That was the U.S. Attorney's Office said that. Karen Reed had that as her profile picture, was that Josh Levy wrote back to them that he's like, this is a simple hit and run. And I think he's like, we have a very different assessment of this case than you. We just left it at that. And it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
That was quite the line.
That's pretty scary. That was the other thing that struck me too. Like, you know, when I watched Ken Berkowitz's retirement party, when I watched, you know, and I saw all these cops from all over the place, from DC, from New York, like all over Massachusetts. Josh Levy, I think, is even there. They're all come in and they're.
He wasn't. Josh wasn't. He wasn't there, but there was another guy from the FBI there.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that we called it the circle jerk, the Ken Berkowitz retirement party, because Brian Albert and Higgins were there. That's the first time sitting with Kevin Albert, and first time we've ever really seen them out in the wild like that, you know. And that when I found that video and I shared it with Karen Reed, it was like a major, like, wow, seeing all these people, Helena Rafferty.
It was scary.
But yes, in one room, and just everybody's chumming it up and patting each other on the back, and you're like, oh yeah, of course Brian Albert's there in his element. Of course Brian Higgins organized this party. That was right around the time when Karen Reed was arrested for murder the second time in June. And man, did that, you're like, because Berkowitz was heavily involved in the cover-up. I think he was one of the most involved. I think he planted taillight. I think he knew from the start that Karen Reed had to be framed for this. He had the access, the motive, the means. Like his buddy Higgins is involved. I don't know if Higgins confessed to him or said something. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if Higgins was like, look, at a fucking accident happened there, dude.
Yep. And
you know, we don't, you know, Brian Albert's a pillar of the community. That's what he called him to the reporter who reported that John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's lawn. He asked him to take a tweet down because Brian Albert was a pillar of the community.
That was what Berkowitz called him.
That was what Berkowitz called him. And it was like, I talked to the reporter that did it. He showed me the receipts of Berkowitz messaging him on Twitter or texting him rather. And the phone call. And he's like, this is what he asked me to do. He asked me to take the tweet down. And I did, because I just didn't want to fucking deal with him. And so I just took the tweet down because he was a pain in the ass. And, but he did ask me to remove that. And so, like, that's crazy, like that you're going out of your way to protect Brian Albert's reputation. And then here he is at your retirement party, of course. And you're like, yeah, that's the kind of guy that can get away with murder. That guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've come around to believe that as well, that I'm now looking back at that phone call, the 6 a.m. phone call between Higgins and Berkowitz, and wondering if that wasn't, you know, exactly what you just said, because that's like, remember, he calls first and like Brian Albert calls or whatever. They're like back to back that morning.
Yeah. And like, what was he doing at the police station? We don't have an answer for that yet. Like, what on earth? And that's why I'm happy that Karen Reed is suing all these douchebags, not just because of any monetary gain that she'll get from this, because I think a lot of these people are broke. But like, I think that just getting answers, we got, like, you can't, there's no Fifth Amendment here, bro. You can't, you got to answer up about what's going on here, because I mean, she's got him as far as a lawsuit goes. I think, like it's undeniable that I think it was smarter to sue those people instead of like the police are tough to get by because they have like immunity and stuff like that. And like, you know, you can argue that like, well, this is standard protocol for an investigation. It's whatever. But like, it's very easy to prove the McAlbert slide. Very easy. Like no jury, because this is a civil jury,
right?
You know, no jury is going to buy the butt dial thing. Like,
No.
so that proves that you lied on the stand, right? You guys didn't butt dial. So that's undeniably a lie. In a murder trial, you guys are lying about this. Like, why are you lying? One thing I don't understand is why she's not suing Colin Albert. A lot of people asked about that. Well, I could just ask Karen that. I don't really talk to her much these days, but like, I do wonder about that. I know that the Chris Albert side of the family is dead broke, which is why they never pay their taxes. But
right,
you know, Colin Albert, it's you know, he lied more than anyone on the stand.
Right, clear cut.
Yeah,
Evidence, video evidence. Right.
Like, bro, the freaking cuts on his arm, like that didn't happen from falling down. It's just a lie. And you say you never been in a fighting before. We got 3 videos of you fighting. So you lied. He clearly lied. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
Allie McCabe saying that she wasn't out. Like your Life 360 data says otherwise. So what up with that? You know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I
So
wish
that's
they were
another
suing
question.
me.
How much do you think the kids know? Do you think, obviously Allie and Colin, but do you
know.
think
Oh,
they
yeah.
all of them know? You think all of them know?
All of them, huh? I don't know what their family dynamic is like. I know Brian Albert Jr. knows. I know that they have to know.
They have to know,
I mean,
right?
They have to know. I mean, how can they not? I don't know if like Dylan Albert, Colin's younger brother, knows. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if Jill Daniels knows because she's like, well, she's just such a defender of them, you know? And like, what if Jill just doesn't know? What if Jill actually is just like, no, my family couldn't do this. Like, she seems to like passionately believe in their innocence, like passionately, like so to the point where she shows up outside of C of McCarthy's and says, I am so sick of your shit, and steals my phone and gets into a huge incident. Have you seen that video?
Oh yeah. No, I just didn't analyze that video. So here's the thing though, that she says in that video that makes me think she does know.
Oh, really?
Because she says, and it's really interesting. I didn't catch it the first like 3 times I watched it, but she's like, why do you care about, there's a desperation. They want you to go away like from their soul, right? If you're an innocent person, like who gives a shit? Like, all right, this guy's out there screaming and yelling. Yeah, okay, it sucks, but we'll just all grin and bear it, and he'll go away eventually. And we'll get through it because we're innocent. The problem is they're not innocent, and I just cannot believe. I cannot believe that Julie wouldn't tell her sister. I just don't. I think she would know.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a fair point because surely Julie and Chris know. You know, Colin came home that night. And, you know, was God knows what happened, and you know, obviously he would have to be alerted very quickly. That's something happened over there. So you do wonder about that. And Chris and Jen especially were the most involved afterwards in like covering this up because their kids are involved. You know, their kid they had the most to lose here. Whereas Brian Albert kept more of a low profile, and Higgins just dropped off the face of the earth, and nobody talked about him.
Yeah. Put like Fort Knox apparently around his house because how he knew you were driving by. And I mean, that was a crazy story.
That was wild. Like I'd been to her, you know, Mara's parents lived down in that area. So every time I'd be there, we'd go on the sightseeing tour, the stars, map of the stars of Barnstable County. And so it's like sometimes we've driven by there a few times, and you know, every time we went by, there's just nothing there. We'd just be like, you know, it's like going to the zoo and seeing the lion cage, and the lion's like sleeping, and you're like, well, but maybe then one time we came out and the lion's just walking around the lawn, and we're like, fuck, didn't expect that. And I'm like, did he see me? Did he see me? And then like we go around the cul-de-sac, and now he's out there with his phone. I'm like, oh, he saw me. Get the fuck out of here.
He saw you. Oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. It's like he was waiting for you. Like he'd been waiting for you every day since he, you know, met you. It's crazy. These people, like,
I've never seen Brian Higgins in the flesh before that. That's the first time I'm ever seeing him. So
really, not even in the trial.
I had a wedding the day my cousin was married in New Jersey on the day of his testimony, so I wasn't there that day. But he testified twice. Actually, they brought him back. Remember, they testified with Jackson for most of it, and then they brought him back for just a little bit with Yannetti on the second day, but I wasn't there for either one.
I don't remember that. I don't remember him with Yannetti. I'm gonna have to go back and watch.
Yeah,
that.
Jackson took one day off in the first trial. It was like a 3-day weekend or something. I think it was Memorial Day weekend actually, and so he just needed an extra day, or I forget what it was, but he couldn't make it. There was one day that he couldn't make it, and it was just finishing up Higgins, so Yannetti could handle it.
That's really interesting. Because I think that's another thing. Like, you have had a lot of personal interactions with a lot of these people, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah, all of them.
right, all of them except for John. I mean, pretty much
yeah.
everybody, right?
But John was a fan of mine. You know that John sent.
No.
Oh yeah, there's a text message in his phone from 2021 in which he sends Julie Albert a link to an article I'd written about a story in Canton, and and Julie Albert responds to the text message from John, and she goes, "My biggest fear in life is ending up on Turtle Boy."
Stop it.
Oh, you never seen that? Oh, I gotta get you that. Let me.
No way.
Yeah,
That's wild.
Yeah,
no
I gotta
way.
dig that up. I'll dig it up for you while we're talking. But yeah, so Karen Reed alerted to me and she's like, "You'll never guess what we found in John's phone." And she sends it to me. It's a text message of Julie Albert saying that, and I'm like, and she ended up on Turtle Boy like 1,000 times. Like, and it was her biggest fear in life,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Do you think so? I just got this. I guess it was a report that I think Tully wrote. Tully signed. I think it was like Tully and Buchanan about Chris and Julie saying that they were at 34 Fairview the night in question. Did you?
Yeah, I think that was a typo. I've seen
Okay.
he was not there. Like, I don't think they were there. I've seen no evidence of that.
Okay.
I think Karen's team would have pushed harder if they truly believed that he was there.
Yeah.
But I have. Can I just show you this?
Yeah,
So
of course.
I've just shared
Absolutely.
it below. If I don't know if I can share. I think only you can share it.
Yeah.
Below. But it's down. I've just shared it. There it is.
There it is. Oh my god. Oh my
I
god.
know, but-
No joke. Oh my god. Wait a minute. I think I have an idea of who the girl is gonna add.
Well, the girl in the story. So John sent her a copy of a story I'd written, and he's like, "Oh my god, I read it this morning." So they're fans of mine. They read my stuff, and he said that is my worst fear, ending up on Turtle Boy. No joke.
I mean, no, seriously, I think these guys live in a special kind of hell. Like, I think about what Jennifer McCabe, exactly the way you were describing, like she's switching in and out of different personalities.
Yeah.
Think about how exhausting that is. Like, she has to remember, all right, like, I'm with Carrie, so I have to put on like my Carrie phase and pretend, oh, I'm so sad and, shock and horror. And then she's like, it's like, this must be, you got to go nuts doing this.
Yeah, it is. And it's probably, and then the Turtle Boy factor comes in.
Right.
Like everything was okay. They got away with it. They're going to Ken Berkowitz's retirement party. They're going to the court dates. They're wearing their Justice for JJ buttons. Everything's cool, under control. We got this. And with her, like, she'll be fine. Like, she'll probably take a plea, maybe get like a couple months in jail, and then we'll all move on with our life and everything will be fine. And then boom, the FBI shows up at their door, and a week later, this blog that they liked, that they had all read before, announces that I'm looking into this. I posted on Twitter and Facebook on April 17th that I was going to be writing a story about a cover-up of a murder involving a Boston police officer in which an innocent person has been framed. And in my inbox that night were Chris Albert and Jill Daniels. Both of them were in my inbox. And Chris Albert said he wanted to talk to me about that because it would be unfortunate if I wrote about it. And Jill Daniels contacted me and said, there's more to this. The defense is lying and blah, 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 blah. So they knew Jill, they were fans of mine. They were followers. So they understood the power that I had at my fingertips, right? They understand the influence I had if I wrote about this and wrote what they were. Like, it's worse than the Boston Globe. It's worse than any other, like, it's the response would be significantly worse if I wrote about it than if any other media outlet wrote about it. And so, they didn't want no part of that. And they tried to kind of contact me and kind of kiss my ass a little bit in hope that like, maybe, there's more to this. Trust me, this broad's crazy. Like this is all false, blah, blah, blah. I ignored them. I'm like, nope, it's all there. Sorry. And then they became my mortal enemies after that. So they were I don't think they're fans anymore.
Well, I think they're still paying attention, though.
Jill might be a fan. I think she kind of likes me.
Well, I mean, we know that, Julie is very intimately familiar with you. Like when she said bukkake, did you almost lose your mind?
Oh, that was my first day in court. I just got my press pass from the SJC, which I didn't have a press pass. So we just took a while to get credentialed. That's my first day in court. And I was actually kicked out of court right after that because I think of what happened. And I'm sitting there and she's just like, Trooper Bukkake. Excuse me. Bukkake. Oh my God. She said it twice. Oh my God. And I remember looking at Nick Rocco, who was sitting there and behind Karen's team. And him and Jenna just both looked at me and were just like, dude, I tried so hard not to freaking burst out laughing. I held it in, but I'm like, that didn't just happen. Tell me she just didn't say bukkake twice. Cause that was like, you're right. That was the acknowledgement that you guys watch everything.
They're
you guys
watching.
are fans.
Yeah.
You can't get enough of this. You just called the man bukkake.
Yes. Like you are so in their heads. Like, and Julie's she's so nervous. She's just a nervous person. Right. So she was,
well, she said bukkake, which is like a hybrid of bucanic and bukkake. So she's halfway there. And she's like, no, I made a mistake. But instead of going the correct way from bukkake to bucanic, she goes the wrong way from bukkake to bukkake.
Exactly.
And we're like, bro, that didn't just happen. Tell me that didn't just. And I got right after that was Chris Albert. And before that, there were some rumblings in the court and my lawyer shows up. I'm like, why is my lawyer here? And what's happening right now? He gets called up by Canoni, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, he pulls me aside. He's like, so they filed a motion to kick you out of the courtroom, and we are going to have to fight this right now. I have to write something. I have to write a motion up real quick, 30 minutes to write something up. And, we argue it. And he's like, where do you want to sit for this? You want to sit up with me? And I'm like, actually, I think it'd be better if I sat in the press box. I think it would be like symbolic if I stayed where I am in the media. And so, the camera would pan to me and stuff like that. But, we argued it. And of course, Beverly Canoni's no fan of mine. So she sides with the prosecution, and I'm banned from the courtroom for testimony from any of the witnesses who I'm being charged with, along with witnesses who live with them. So like Caitlin Albert, who I'm not charged with, Nicole Albert, who I'm not charged with. So I was banned for them. I was initially banned for Proctor and Bukkake, but she ended up amending that because of the absurdity, of course, of like these grown ass cops who are afraid of me. I mean, that's just so ridiculous.
With guns and badges.
Yeah,
and all
right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, okay. So that's really interesting. And I was going to ask you about the judge. So I think I heard you talking to Alan Jackson just after the trial. And I think you said something really smart, right? Which was that she definitely, had a bug up her ass for Jackson. Did not, clearly, right?
Clearly.
Do you think, though, that it was personal, or was she sort of like in on it?
No, it was personal.
You think it was personal?
No, she didn't like the jib of his sail. She didn't appreciate the California swag.
Nope.
She didn't like that. Because she wanted to remind her, like, Alan Jackson probably makes 10 times the amount of money that she makes, lives in a much bigger house than her, is much more powerful and well known than she is, except in this courtroom. This is her domain. God damn it. She's a townie, and she was going to remind this guy that she's King Dick in this courtroom.
Absolutely.
And she wanted to put him in his place repeatedly over and over again. I think it was personal.
That's what I think too. What I think too. As she goes back, certainly she grew up with Morrissey. Their families must know each other.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm sure there's that too. It doesn't help. But
yeah, we know that Beverly Canoni's brother represented Chris Albert when he killed a man in 1994. So,
Yeah.
Like it's an incestuous community, the South Shore, and of course these people all know each other. But Karen Reed's not. Karen Reed's from Bristol County. I mean, she's down near Rhode Island. Like she's not from there. She don't know people, and so she was an easy target. And and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Some people disagree with this. Like her personality made her an easy target for them. Like she doesn't have the people skills that Jennifer McCabe has. She just doesn't. And she doesn't know how, like Jennifer McCabe is an expert at networking and, bullshitting. And Karen Reed is not.
Right. 100%. That's a really, yep. I mean, just, Brian Albert essentially used that, knew that, and has used that because to me, she really doesn't do anything in the first 48 hours after this happens, unless Brian Albert is either like preceding or immediately following whatever it is that she's doing. Right. So even when she does the follow-up Google search, she's literally on the phone with Brian Albert when she does that second 623 Google search. Right. So it's like, he is like the daddy who's just, okay.
He is the daddy. He is the daddy. Yeah.
You're going to do what I tell you to do. That's it.
Oh, I mean, great guy to have in your corner when you just killed a man is a guy who worked for 29 years in the Boston Police Department as murder police, going around. Like there's nobody you'd want in your corner more than somebody like him and Brian Higgins, because they know exactly what to do in a situation like that. They were made for a situation like this, especially in a town in which Higgins has an office inside the Canton Police Department. Right. It's just like you couldn't have come up with better people in your corner to be with if a murder cover-up happens and somebody as cold-blooded as Jennifer McCabe, to be there. And it's just, the rest took care of itself. It was easy.
So easy. All right. Well, easy, but then you can't get your family on the same page when they're testifying. I mean, it's so absurd. You got Brian Albert, Caitlin, Nicole, Brian Albert Jr. They're all telling a different story about looking at pictures, and Caitlin's like, "Oh, my dad never left my line of sight." Meanwhile, Brian Albert has himself upstairs in his son's room looking at pictures, the son in the Marines with Brian Higgins, and then Nicole has them both in the living room looking at Brian Albert Sr. as a child in his Marine uniform. I mean, it's like, you guys couldn't even get on the same page with your story?
No, I mean, but it didn't matter because they weren't the ones on trial. It's like they could lie all they want. If Karen Reed had any sort of inconsistencies in her story, they would pounce on it. But these guys have all these inconsistencies in their stories, as well as extremely suspicious behavior. I mean, think about the behavior that they considered suspicious for Karen Reed and how much they spent time, and then compare it to the McAlberts. Like, for instance, why did she call her dad at 1:15?
It's so absurd.
She must have been confessing a murder, right? That's the only possible reason to call your dad in a situation like that. She must have been confessing to a murder. Why did she show up? How come she noticed the body and no one else did? It's like, whereas like but the same people who are acting like her behavior is suspicious don't think anything the McAlbert's doing is suspicious in the least bit at all.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Right. I mean, you add one time I had done this, I made the list and it was like 70 things. I mean, and that was like earlier on. That was before I did like the deeper dive. So we're like on its face, 70 different sort of examples of lying, suspicious behavior, just, perjury. I mean, you name it. Right. I wonder, because you're kind of, and I know for me with this case, like I'll be re-traumatized by realizing again and again that they really did it, even though I know they really did it. But like, I'll have another epiphany because I see whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys really killed this guy. Right. Was there something in particular that you saw at, earlier on in your sort of just learning, this case unfolding, that you were like, wow, they really did this?
The Google search.
It was
the Google search. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Like, it's cold blooded. Like, the Google search is on and then it's deleted too. And you're like, wow, holy shit. You're like, oh, and then like the fact that she did it again at 624, it spelt it the wrong way. But the first time she spelled it the wrong way. She spelled it the wrong way. And like, she had to do it again at 624 to like, you're like, wow, That was her plan. She's like, how am I? She realized the 227 was a mistake. Like, fuck, I gotta delete this, and then what am I gonna do? What if they find this later on? We'll do it again at 624. You know, I'll just do it the same exact way. Spell it the same exact way. It'll make sense if they found him. Like after they find the body, I'm gonna Google it again, and then I have a plausible explanation for why I would do it. It's still doesn't really make sense.
Not at all.
Google that.
Right.
Like it's still like
it doesn't.
Bro, you ask instead of asking the first responders how long it takes to die in the cold, you ask Jeeves like okay, sure thing. You know, like
it's absurd. Yeah,
it is absurd. So,
I mean,
Karen Reed asked to first respond to that question. Karen, like that firefighter Whitley, I think testified. The guy that's like in love with Carrie Roberts.
Yeah,
and like, don't you dare say mean things about Carrie Roberts.
Yeah, like the neighbor, like you like a neighbor.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah,
He's like, he just gets so mad when she talks shit about Carrie Roberts. So yeah, he testified that Karen Reed asked him like, how long could he have been out there? You know, so she asked the first responder what Jennifer McCabe asked Google. Like, it's like, what the hell?
Right. Why would she have me Google it? It doesn't even make any sense. But you know, again, nothing that Jennifer McCabe says is, makes sense, really.
Nothing.
So, and I wonder now, like, what is it like? I know for me, when what's the guy's Diller, when the O'Keefe family lawyer,
we call him Dildo. His name is Dildo.
When he was talking about Karen Reed intentionally, wanting to hurt Kaylee, what is it like watching that after we went through the whole thing twice already?
I'm like, all you could think of is like, bro, for real? We're still doing this? Like, this has been litigated, dude. Like, a jury said, nah, that didn't happen. And you can just get up there in open court and be like, yo, this happened. Like, everyone's just laughing. Like, come on, bro. Like, come on. This is your whole case, is that he hit him with the car. Like, you're done. You're done. If this goes to trial, you're done. Like, it's going to be so easy for Karen Reed to like, oh, the civil trials are easier. I think it's going to be easier for Karen Reed this time around, because you just bring Arca back out. Crash Daddy's going to be back. I don't even know. I guess it's probably going to make it to trial, right? I don't see it being dismissed.
Well, I mean, Karen's, I can't imagine that she's going to give money to the O'Keefes, right?
No, she could bring it to trial. I mean, and I can't imagine a judge dismissing it based on what these motions to dismiss are. Judges hate dismissing things. They're always just like, leave it up to a jury.
Leave it to the jury.
So we're going to do this again.
We're doing it again.
We're doing it. It might be a couple of years from now, but it's not. We're not even close to having this go away.
No, I know.
And then we got my case. I think my case might be over. I thought my case might go on for years. I think it might be over by Christmas. That would be a nice gift. I was talking to Olivia Lamb, my amazing data analyst on our defense team,
with the
before going on, and we talked about, we're like, wouldn't this be nice if this is over for Christmas? Because the motion that's coming tomorrow, with Bettero, is the death knell for them. Like, it's ironclad. There is no way that Robert Cosgrove cannot recuse himself from this case, and it will be stateless, as Bettero said in court the other day. There will be no one left to prosecute this case. They will not be able to appoint anyone, because the DA has his own issues, and we'll all just be like, thank you, Lindsay Gattani. You finally did something useful. You ended this freaking charade. And it's so ironic, because they were so excited to bring her on, to use her, and to put me in jail for 60 days. And then she blows the whole thing up because she's uncontrollable. Like, she's obviously she's a crazy person. Like, as I experienced firsthand, like, you guys trusted a crazy person, and this is what happens when you do that.
Do you think she knows that this is going to just help you in all these ways? Do you think she?
Oh yeah, she wants me back. There's no doubt about it. Oh yeah,
my feeling too.
If I called her tomorrow, it would just be like, "Let's go, Daddy." Like, of course I wouldn't do that, because I'm not fucking crazy, and I've learned my lesson. But I have no doubt in my mind, like, that's what this is. This is just an attempt to win me back and win my followers. And she's full of shit. I hope no one's falling for this shit. This is all just an act. This is all just her latest scheme. Her entire life is one scheme after another. And I see right through it, because I've seen her messages. Like, she messaged Jill Daniels on December 8th. You know, it's like Jill Daniels is one of the first ones that she reached out to, and
To
like
say
me
what?
to try to win her over and be like,
But
oh,
to say what?
the same shit she's doing now with my followers, like trying to get them on. Oh my God. So like, and try to like bond with her over me. Turtle
You.
Boy's an asshole, and befriend her. And she's like, I just wanted to reach out to someone from the other side. And like, she's
Oh
just
my
so
God.
manipulative like that.
She's
She knows
so manipulative.
she knows exactly what she's doing. And what I'm seeing her do right now with her whole little grifting scheme of going on there, whatever. But it is useful. Like, as you're going to see in tomorrow's motion, we have used some of the things that she said in her little grifting, because I get it for free. Other people just pay it and download it for me. And we're using a couple of her quotes in tomorrow's motion that you'll see.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. And then also it's forcing Catherine Peter to do so now she's listing out all this, like, you know, these texts. And so she's like outing Lindsay now. It's
great.
wild.
It's great. And we're just sitting back here eating our popcorn, watching these trash bags go at it with each other, and everything they say helps us. And it's awesome.
What do you think? So the Turtle Boy derangement syndrome, what the hell? What is this? Why are they so obsessed with you?
That's $1 million question. I don't know. I make people nuts, and everybody comes into my life. You know, not every relationship I have blows up like in fireworks. Like, it doesn't have to be this way, but I just have this crazy magnet. I just attract crazy people, and they seem normal at first, some of these people, and then they end up being fucking crazy. I just drive them nuts. I don't know why I have that power over these people, but with some people, there's just an inability to move on with their lives. I'm talking some people like Michael Gaffney, who have been obsessed with me for like 7 or 8 years. They got no quit. They don't care that they're not doing well. Like, I got this crazy broad, Lisa Jefferson, texting me like before the show, just insanity. We call her Black Tar Heroine Lisa Jefferson, and she's just writing insanity to me about. I'll just read it to you, okay? So this is a chick. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
That it was a big mistake. I hooked up with her once, and she's kind of gross. But it's a long story. But it was like the greatest freaking couple hours of her life. It was like, and so she can't get over it. And so she joined this Karen Reed is guilty thing. She used to be my biggest supporter, biggest fan girl. So this is like what the text message she sends me today. She's like, when will you ever learn? You've been so cruel to me, calling me a junkie and a loser, piece of shit who's junkie. At least I have people in my life I can trust. You screw over people that deserve to get screwed over. I don't want to be happy. You make it really hard. Then I go, I always looked up to you because I thought you were smart. Karen Reed is close to ruining you. And I tried to warn you from the very beginning. I tried to tell you Karen and her team would rather see you locked up than to interfere with anything after she was found not guilty. That's all she wanted. You could be locked up and it would probably be preferred by her. You just started people, me specifically, who genuinely cared about you. I hope you're happy with your choices. And then she's telling me, like, then she goes on to say, I know you, Aidan. You're close to suicidal right now. I hope that you're in therapy. You know, you think you're so special, but you're about to be humbled. I wonder how you will communicate with the producers from jail. It's like, are you insane? I just sold out the Wilbur Theater. I got a movie deal. I got a freaking documentary deal. I'm fucking killing it right now. My charges are about to be dropped. How can you possibly think that things aren't going well for me? Like, what planet are you living on where things are going badly for me? And this is insane. One time I hooked up with this chick. One time.
And she's but that message starts out angry, but she comes all the way around and now is like singing your praises in that.
But she knows it's not true. Like, if I have a conversation with her, she would admit, like, yeah, I know none of that's true. Like, she praised me for years and still kind of praises me every once in a while. But like, I know that all these people know that I'm killing it, and they're just in denial, and they want to pretend like things aren't going well. They just can't admit it. It's just crazy.
What percentage of the anti-Karen Reed people do you think are really just Turtle Boy derangement syndrome folks?
Oh, a good percentage.
Like at least half.
There's 3 categories of people that believe Karen Reed are guilty. Number 1 are the Turtle Boy derangement syndrome. There you have your crusty panties and your twisted tragedies and your Julie Gintos and your Lindsay Gattanis and people like that. Then you have the McAlberts and the McAlbert adjacents, the friends and family who naturally are going to defend them. And then there's the true crime nut jobs who came on later on after the story, who didn't know who I was, who just started hating me because like they followed these true crime stories and they always take the position that the defendant is guilty. And so that was just their default
like
position.
the Dateline angle, you're saying, like they watch Dateline or whatever.
Like if you're on Twitter, like the Jimmy Jams and the Julie Carpenters of the world, and the people like that, like those are true. They're not from around here. Those people, like they're from other parts of the country. So like they hated Karen Reed before they hated me. So like they're kind of the opposite. So
that makes sense.
The people who are local hated me first, and then believed Karen was guilty because they hated me.
Right. I mean, like the pictures of Catherine Peter and Lindsay Catani wearing like free Karen Reed shirts. And then like 6 months later, it's like, the opposite. It's just, I can't imagine making my whole life, my whole like platform is hating you.
Yeah.
It just seems like,
it's insane. I could never care as much about a human being as Kate Peter cares about me. Like she can't stop. Like, and it's been going on for 6 years now. Like her entire existence in life revolves around me. It's just, I just couldn't get that sense of satisfaction from any human. Like, I don't care how much I hate you or like you. I'm not going to care that much about you, period.
No. Right. It's very strange. It's also really interesting that people just assume that if you and Karen aren't talking, that means somehow like life is over for you. I think that's an interesting assumption also.
I was Turtle Boy before Karen Reed, and I'm going to be Turtle Boy after Karen Reed. I'll be fine. I'm not dependent on Karen Reed to be successful or be happy.
Well, and she's also not going to prison, right? I mean, like that's over. Like there's this civil stuff, fine. But like Karen Reed is not going to prison.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
We're done here. I did always envision like a post-trial world in which her and I did, were like partners and going around and doing this, but she doesn't want that. So that's fine. I'll sell it to Wilbur on my own. I'll be fine.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's another discussion. We don't have to get into that. About that's unfortunate, so how do you see the future? Like you're talking about, you sold out the Wilbur. Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. What a cool thing to sell out too, right? Like just it has that lore, right?
Awesome. Like that was such a cool
awesome.
Theater.
Yeah. What is it like the vision? I mean, are you just thinking, all right, I'm going to be like the injustice warrior, continue what you've been doing, or you have a much sort of different vision in mind for what you want to do now?
Yeah. I mean, I take every day as it comes. I'm going to continue to like my days I'm not bored any day that I wake up. Like every day there's something going on in my case that I need to get on, and then, following the online, whatever's going on that day. Like I never know day to day what I'm going to do, what I'm going to talk about. There's never been a show I've had where I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Like there's always something to talk about, something to discuss. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And we're going to continue to have shows like we had at the Wilbur, do stuff like that, have events, and just have a good time and kill it.
You just keep it going. Keep doing it going. Yeah. So you don't actively, I know my sister had wanted me to ask you this question because she's, real true crime junkie as well. And she, as well as I am, that was like my hobby that somehow I wound up doing this. Still haven't figured out how, but she wanted to know, do you actively pursue looking for like injustice cases? I mean, I'm sure people bring them to you all the time.
People bring them to me. Yeah. I don't look for anything like my inbox for years now has been filled with story ideas and the Karen Reed story was brought to me in my inbox. People are like, you should look into this. A guy by the name Brian Johnson, a former Duxbury cop who worked with Karen Reed, is kind of the first one that really sent me the story and thought something was up about it. But yeah, I mean, I check, I still get stuff in my inbox. I get story ideas all the time. I don't have time right now to cover these other stories, but once this dies down, I don't know when this is going to die down. It might take a couple of years for this to die down. I don't know how long this is going to go on, but eventually it will die down, and we'll continue to write stories as they come in.
Yeah. So, right. I mean, because at the end of the day, do you think there will ever be justice for John O'Keefe?
Probably not. If I was a betting man, I don't see a world in which the feds. I mean, it's too late, right? I mean, how are they going to get him? I mean, they're not going to get a witness who's going to flip. The federal government seems to have given up, and you're certainly not the local government's not going to ever look into it. So,
right.
Which is a shame because John O'Keefe deserved better than that. He was a human. He wasn't some content. The name, this replaceable name in the Karen Reed story. Like John O'Keefe was a human being with a soul and 2 kids who he was supposed to take care of. And because he was killed, like so many other people were affected by this, and not just his attention seeking friends. I'm talking about particularly Kaylee and Patrick, who are now brought into the McAlbert. They're basically McAlberts now, and that's how they will grow up is, it was really sad to see John's niece make her post on the day that Karen was acquitted about how, like, I'm sorry we didn't get justice for you today, and blah, blah, blah. It's like she wanted a conviction, and that's very sad that this girl thinks that Karen Reed did this, and that, like, it's just sad. So it is unfortunate, and it's a tragedy that John, I don't think he's ever going to get justice.
I 100% totally agree. And also a lot of people will say that they were attracted to this case because they felt like they could have been Karen Reed. But for whatever reason, I just can't get past not having justice for John O'Keefe. That's the big sort of just, you seem like such a good guy, a good cop, like the kind of cop that we all want our cops to be, right?
He was a cop that didn't want to be a cop. I mean, John wasn't like, they act like John was like Mr. Super Cop. John put ankle bracelets on sex offenders in Hyde Park. Like he wasn't moving up the ranks of the boss. Like Brian Albert is the kind of cop that loves being a cop and likes, John, from my understanding, from what Karen has told me and others, is like his identity didn't revolve around being a police officer. He wasn't like married to the job. It was a job for him. And I know a lot of cops that are like that are just like, they are just like my buddies that like, I got one buddy, he's a state trooper, and he's just like, he works at the desk at a local barracks, and he does, he loves it. He's just like, yeah, they're fucking around with the paperwork. I don't have to arrest people. It's like, I'm just counting the years to retirement, and I got another buddy. Yeah. I got another buddy that's a Worcester police. He's a detective now. He probably hates being a detective, but like, he was like a cop. He only became a cop because his dad was a cop. And it was like, he was like told like, it's a good job. You get good benefits and this and that, but he really just wants to go down to the Cape and surf and go and run triathlons. And he's just like, he has zero desire to be a sergeant, zero desire. And I feel like that's the majority of cops, are just people who are just regular. And that's why I trust police generally, is like, I know I have a lot of friends that are cops, and they're just like, they're the people I watch the Super Bowl with. And who like I went to bachelor parties with, and just that I've never met somebody. I would never be friends with somebody like Michael Proctor or Yuri Buchanan, whose entire identity revolves around being a cop,
Yes. Like cops and robbers, like in a very like kind of childish almost way of thinking about my identity as a cop, like in a very non-complicated way.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, Proctor just, you could tell he just loved, like he wasn't on the force for that long.
No, he wasn't.
Like, and he quickly became a detective in his hometown. You know how hard that is? Like when you first get on the state police, they send you to Cheshire, Mass or Lee, Mass, like because somebody's got to work in Western Mass. And that's where you got to work your first few years. And Proctor was in a little town called Brookfield in Worcester County for a couple of years, and then immediately gets moved to Canton. I mean, your hometown, that's where he's working out of. I mean, what a hookup job that is. He rose real quickly for somebody who's not talented and not smart. And I don't know. It's like, because I feel like that's that's what they like. They like people who are just, you got to shave your head. You got to like be a cop. You got to like, that's got to be your whole identity. And they loved it. Guys.
Yes, sir, too, right? I'll do whatever you say.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Don't question things.
Don't question things.
Whatever.
Yeah. That's the one thing I can say about all of the testimony by every cop in the Karen Reed trials. None of them ever threw another one under the bus. No matter who they worked for, they refused to throw each other to say a bad word
Absolutely.
about each other.
Except for Nicholas Barros. He wasn't afraid
Except for Nicholas Barros.
He
But he
wasn't
didn't
afraid
do it
to-
on purpose, right? Because he never came out and said, like, Michael Proctor was a fucking lying
No,
asshole.
I've spoken to Nicholas Barros on the phone about a week or so after he reached out to me via email, and I went to my spam. Yeah. And then he reached out on TikTok, and he's like, I emailed you. And I'm like, oh shit. And like, what's your number? And so we chatted, and he told me that he's like, we discussed having him come on the show. And we kind of lost contact. I emailed him again this week. We're going to try to set that up.
Oh, I hope so.
He's like, if I come on, like, one thing I'm not going to do is like accuse the state police of planting anything. I'm just going to talk about my role in this, what I saw, anything like that. But I'm not making any accusations of corruption with the state. And I get that. And I appreciate that he's like, I'm not here to do that. Because he's professional. Right. He's like, I'm not here to opine. I'm not here to like get involved in a conspiracy theory or anything like that. I'm just here to do my job, report what I saw, say what I witnessed. And that's my job,
Right. And that's why he gets away with it, right? That's why you can have respect, even amongst each other, because he wasn't actively trying to throw anyone under the bus. He was just like, I can tell you what I saw. That's it.
Just telling you what I saw. Yeah. And he was honest on the stand. He's like, he didn't say like, I don't know anything about this case. He's like, it's kind of hard to miss. Like, it's kind of hard to not know anything about this case. It's like impossible.
Oh, come on. You can't possibly.
Yeah, exactly. So he was honest about it, So like he said that. He's like, he could have said, oh, I don't know anything. But like, he's like, of course I know some stuff about this case. Everybody does.
Of course. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So wait, we have a couple of requests here. So let me see really quick. Can you ask Aidan to say Starship it?
No, stop it.
Okay.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
How does that say stop it?
Stop it. That's just how I pronounce it. I don't know. I don't think she meant to put the second S there. I think it was just supposed to be two H's.
Sorry. I didn't mean to
no, you didn't.
Okay, so Bewitching Beauty sends $2 and says, didn't they see her in the hospital that morning? I don't know what that was a reference to. Didn't they see her in the hospital? That must have been a reference. Who would have been in the hospital? Karen, right?
I don't know who saw her. I don't know who you're talking about.
I don't know what we were talking about. That was a while ago. Yeah. Sorry, you guys. I got completely distracted. I'm like the worst. I'm like, a little ADD too. So I'm all over the place. Like, it's hard for me to do all of these things at the same time. Opening eyes around the U.S., one podcast at a time. Yeah. I mean, do you ever, you must not be able to leave the house without people recognizing you all the time.
It happens a lot more than it used to, for sure.
I bet.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's cool. I like doing it. It's like, that's fun. Like I'm a people person.
I can see that.
I like meeting people, and I enjoy the interactions every time it happens.
Yeah. How about the kids? Are they okay?
They're used to it. They think it's funny. Like they have bets sometimes about like how many people are going to come up to us if we go out for dinner and stuff like that. But ultimately I'm a family guy, and my kids, they're just like, I don't really care about that stuff. They just want to, you're being loud, Dad. I'm trying to watch TV, or like, or I want to talk about this, so I have a completely different life with my family than I do with my work.
Yeah. No, actually growing up, my father's like a local sports broadcaster in New York City, and we dealt with it. So I know exactly what it feels like to be the little kid whose dad is talking to everybody that see him and come over, and you're like, oh, Dad.
You get annoyed by it. Yeah. Because they've seen it a million times. They've seen like every time we go out to dinner, this is going to happen. Like it's like in this, like every time I would bring up Karen Reed, my daughter, she'd be like, oh my God. I don't care. And
so funny. So cute. Totally.
Yeah. She's sassy.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to go through these guys. I will stay on for a bit. Thank you, Aidan, for your time. I am just so grateful to you for so many reasons, but also for being willing to come on with me tonight.
My pleasure.
So appreciate it. And it was like very last minute.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. I always like to go on new channels and meet new people and have good discussions. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And I'm sure I'll be bugging you again sometime somewhat soon.
All right. Thank you. You have a great night. Thank you.
You too. Be well. All right. Wow. So Aidan Kearney, everybody, that surreal. Like the best way I can describe it is just surreal, right? Because who would you rather talk to about this case than Aidan, right? He knows everything, really everything that there is to know. And I know there's been a lot of drama, right? Like there's been a lot of drama. Obviously, many of us, I'm sure, are familiar with all the drama, but you know, I just want to see justice for John O'Keefe, and you know, who has time for that shit, right? The corruption stuff is real and it's gross and it's disgusting. So yeah. So I don't so much care about that. I never really liked drama in my personal life, so definitely don't want to see it on Twitter or, you know, and YouTube or anywhere else. Okay, so I want to welcome all the new members. Bukaki Ducksworth, welcome. Welcome, Southie Sally. I'm like trying to get through all the things in this chat, and you know, it's a huge pain in the ass. Welcome, Melissa Reynolds. Yeah, you know what? Melissa, I was gonna ask him that, and I think he kind of, you know, I wondered if he was gonna tell us that. That was kind of what I was thinking when I asked him about the Wilbur and about, you know, whether or not he had a vision for what he was gonna do next. It sounds like, and I get this because I'm in a place in my life where I thought I had this plan. Like I thought I knew exactly what was gonna happen, and I was where I was gonna be like this month and next week and the week after that. And then this happened, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Life can just completely change very, very quickly. And so, you know, your best laid plans, I get this kind of like I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants and it's working for me. And so I'm just gonna keep doing it and see what happens. I totally get that. And yeah, I mean, sounds like Aidan's gonna be very busy, right? He said he had a book deal, a movie deal, and then there was a third thing. I'm sure I'll remember it eventually, but going to be a very busy guy for a long time. And you know, as much as I would really rather not have to see Karen Reed go through a civil trial for any reason ever, because I can't even imagine, you know, I'm sure most of you saw just the one hearing. I mean, 5 minutes of listening to that lawyer who Aidan called Dildo talk about Karen Reed. I mean, like my blood pressure just shot through the roof. I felt like my body was on fire. I was so angry. Can you imagine being Karen Reed and have to sit there and listen to that shit? It's just, you know, saying that she intentionally made an effort to hurt John's niece, who she loved. I mean, it's absurd. It's like the most absurd claim anyone could ever make. And you wonder, like, how could they really believe that? But honestly, I think that they really might. I really, I think they really might believe it. Tragically. Miss Holmes 66 sends $5, says, I am so happy you two finally are on one show. I love you both, and you're two of the most intelligent people I know. Sam and Aidan, too long of a time coming. Thank you so much, Miss Holmes 66. This totally happened last minute. Like I reached out to him Monday morning. I was like, hey, you know, if you ever want to come on sometime, it would be great. And he's like, great, how's Wednesday? You know, no, I said Wednesday night is when I normally do my show, but I'll do any time that you have available. He's like, how's Wednesday? I was like, great. Cool, amazing, love it. So appreciative to him, you know, especially after all the crap that was going on this week. I was like, maybe this isn't the greatest time. You know, he's probably pretty busy. I can't imagine, like, you know, having people. I mean, imagine that, right? Like having people in the world whose entire focus is like hating you, like really hating you. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Okay, so I am going just to chat with you guys. Questions, thoughts. Sarah Matthews says, this has been the best. You are my favorites. Well, I'm appreciative of that. I have like so many questions here because I was like, my God, like, what do I want to ask? You know, and of course, I don't even remember what those were at this moment, but hopefully you guys got some of your questions answered, because I did. I actually put a post up and got a bunch of people to tell me what their questions were, and I sort of, tried to wiggle those questions in as much as I could. Thank you, Judy Ann. Trying, very much trying. Thanks. Thank you guys. We're just like kind of feeling it out, right? And if you think there's somebody that, you think I should invite on, let me know who they are. There's a couple of folks, I'm not going to give it away yet, but there are a few other people we're like in the works talking about it. So, let's see. Liz, hi, Liz Rose. Thank you so much. I wanted, I feel like with Aidan, there's so much that you can cover. There's so many topics that you can talk to him about. And so I wasn't sure. I was like, God, what do I want to talk about? Right. I mean, we could probably spend an hour just talking about Jennifer McCabe, and I would be perfectly happy to do that. Right. So great. Let's do it. But I'm like, I don't know if everybody else wants to hear that. To me, it's also like freaking the mega motion, you guys, when you see how, and now it makes sense. Like when seeing the text that Julie had sent saying that, oh my God, Turtle Boy, that would be like my biggest fear come true, being a subject of Turtle Boys. Could you freaking imagine what those people must have been going through? The same week, Jennifer McCabe is visited by the feds, right? Alan Jackson drops this 94-page motion laying out the whole theory of the case. And then, like, to top that off, Aidan Kearney Turtle Boy starts writing about them, and they all knew who he was. So they all knew what that meant. I mean, that must have been like the earth came crashing freaking down on them, right? And I say this a lot, but man, it's like, there's got to be a special kind of hell that Jennifer McCabe is sitting in. I mean, I wouldn't freaking, I would rather be dead than be living in a place, not rather be in jail, but definitely, I cannot imagine having to literally like stop before I interact with the person in front of me, figure out who the person is, and then proceed, because I can't just like be myself anymore. I have to calculate what face am I supposed to put on for the person in front of me before I say anything to them, right? I mean, absolutely, Stephen, absolutely the stress. It's gotta be. Like, I would argue that it could facilitate any medical problem, right? Like, and I think, like Aidan was saying with Berkowitz, the more I think about it, I keep going back to that 6 o'clock phone call with Higgins, and I'm thinking, why was he calling him? Right? Remember what Higgins says about why that call was made, right? Oh, sometimes he just calls me in the morning. So I didn't think anything of it. He just calls me in the morning on the weekend at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, you wonder, right? Because we at least don't have Brian Higgins' phone messages, right? Right. Yeah, we don't have Brian Higgins' phone messages, because what we have is him on the phone at 1:30 in the morning after saying he was never on the phone at that time. But I don't think we actually have his phone messages, right? Right. Yeah, they are definitely in the hell of their own making. Absolutely. Yeah. And I know we've talked about this before. My understanding is that Nicole and Brian are separated. I don't know if, that is my understanding. That has been sort of officiated in some capacity. It does seem valid. I don't know if it's a divorce, whatever, but I know that there's consequences. And just from watching them, after the verdict, Nicole, she's talking about how sad she is. Oh my God. So sad. It's so sad. She says, what this has done to our family. Could you imagine? Oh my God. So sad. All of it is. So, but a couple of things. I mean, you guys, I've been so freaking busy, but I have like a list now of all of these things that I need to go back and watch. So Karen Reed stuff, Justice for John O'Keefe stuff, that just in putting together. So what I was doing was I was putting together, that was actually what made me reach out to Aidan, was I was putting together a video of his case and then started to pick, like I got these clips of stuff I hadn't seen, like these clips of Jennifer McCabe at the end of her cross-examination during the first trial that I never saw. And I was like, man, there's some really important stuff in here. I don't know how the hell I missed it. There's also, similarly, there's important stuff that I missed in Brian Tully, which I can't believe. I mean, so there's some stuff I have got to go back through. Julie Nagel, which I was going to do anyway, and then got distracted. And, so there's a lot just in the testimony that still is unfolding. And I will tell you one more thing that I've come to. So a couple of things that I'm now contemplating. Number one, I think that Mike Lank is the one Canton cop that is dirty when it comes to this case. So these are now conclusions that I've come to recently that I did not have certainty about. I think and this is not like, this is not revolutionary. I'm sure this is somewhat obvious, but I think he's the one that like was the insider for the Alberts. Maybe that, like I said, maybe that is obvious, but now I'm pretty sure of that. I, like Aidan, believe that Ken Berkowitz was, I don't know. Yeah, let me think about this. I'm trying to think about what I want to say. I think he did know. Yeah. I think Berkowitz probably did know that, that Karen was innocent. I think he would have been the only cop outside of Lank that would have known that Karen was innocent, for sure. I don't think, I'm not, I think one thing Aidan said that was really important to understanding this case, really important. Cops can't imagine that another cop could be guilty of murder. That is freaking so important, right? Think about that. Because if that's true, it explains everything you need to know about why none of the cops, like exactly why Buchanan, Proctor, and Tully, once they identify Karen Reed, the very first, we're talking about hours into this. This is so maddening. It's like so upsetting all over again every time I say it. Hours into the investigation, they decide, because they hear from Jennifer McCabe and Brian Albert, because Brian Albert's standing next to Jen McCabe and he's a cop and he's backing her. Oh yeah, Karen did it. She said she hit him. Must have been Karen. They just decide it was Karen and then never look back. Never, ever stop at any point and say, maybe it wasn't her. Like none, never. And that makes sense because, right? It's not even like cops protecting cops. It's like cops just like, it's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like identifying with another person to the point where you assume that because you couldn't do it, they can't do it. And then you just accept that without checking to see if it's true. Right. And it's crazy, but I think that's exactly what happened. I think that Proctor, I think he believed that she was guilty because he's a moron and because Brian Albert didn't do this. I remember hearing Catherine Peters say this. I don't remember where it was, but it's funny. She came to mind because she was like, well, I hung out with those guys. Like I hung out with Jennifer McCabe and like, they're not murderers. And I thought, oh no, of course not. So Karen Reed presents like a murderer to you, right? Like, no. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's such an absurd argument. Like, well, Jennifer McCabe doesn't seem like a murderer, so she didn't do it. Well, neither does fucking Karen, right? So it's so silly. But having said that, it is also very difficult to hang out with somebody and then afterwards imagine that they could have been capable of killing somebody, even if it was an accident, right? That is pretty freaking scary. It is pretty freaking scary. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I would have loved. I see something about Berkowitz and the cancer. I would have liked to known what. I don't know if any of you know, like what was the trajectory? When did he find out that he had cancer? Was that after he retired, or was that before the retirement? And was the retirement in lieu of getting better, getting help? Because it seems like he passed away pretty quickly after he retired. I mean, maybe not right away, but he was a young guy. Like, tragic that he died so young. Yeah. The thing that yeah, Madam August Butterfly, Chris Albert killed a man and ran to his brother's house to hide. Yeah, and I think Lank helped him out there too. They basically waited it out. So he was wasted, of course, Chris Albert, who I think has probably always had a problem with alcohol, as many of the Alberts folks do. He waited it out so that he couldn't get charged with driving under the influence, and that it was just a car accident. And then he went and turned himself in, right? Vehicular manslaughter, is that what it was? But I mean, yeah, he gets a slap on the wrist basically because they never were able to prove he was drunk, is basically what happened. Yeah. And I think he was 20. Am I right about that? Was Chris Albert 20 when that happened? And that's important because your brain is so immature at 20 years old still that you could feasibly, I could see how somebody like Chris Albert, I should say, could be drunk, get in a car accident, accidentally kill a person in a drunk driving accident, and not, as an adult, 25 years later, not losing any sleep over it because he was so young at that time. And because of the changes that just a brain goes through from 20 to 50, whatever he is now. But I do think that the way that I imagine that because Chris Albert did kill a man, and that's a horrible experience to go through, even if you're a 20-year-old, immature alcoholic fuckhead, I'm sure that it scares the crap out of him to see Colin, the potential for a son, any of his sons, to go down a similar road, right? And I'm sure you could see that in Colin. I'm sure you could. I'm just kind of reading, trying to follow along with all of you. Yeah, I'd love to see Deaver flip. Oh, the drama. Somebody, I think my sister, I thought I saw her there in the chat. I think my sister had said that she thinks Nicole would be the first one to flip. Maybe, I don't know. The question, Ben, would be like, who is she flipping on? Like, she already told us that she saw Higgins and Berkowitz, right? So we know that they were in the Sallyport with the car. If she had seen more, you wonder, like, would she have said more? I don't know. Good Trouble Studio says Nicole is a quiet kind of evil. Yeah, she strikes me as like sad, like kind of a sad, like dysthymic is another way of saying that in clinical terms. Like, just kind of like, it's not depressed, but it's sort of not experiencing joy. That would be the best way to say it. She strikes me as not experiencing very much joy. Yes, there's Jackie. Jackie says, hi, Jackie. Yes, if Nicole is getting a divorce, then I think she's going to spill the beans. It's, look, I think the question, and Aidan said this, I think the question is whether or not the extent to which the kids are involved in the truth. I think at the end of the day, the X factor as to whether anyone would ever come forward is whether or not these kids are really that involved. Because think about it. If Allie McCabe is involved, if she did pick up bloody Colin Albert and bring him somewhere, right? That then they're never telling anyone. No one will ever find out because the kids are who they're protecting. That's one of the things that I, that's one of the reasons why I had a hard time and still have a hard time completely erasing Colin from the events of that night is because of the lengths that somebody like Chris Albert went to, like getting on the select committee. I mean, come on, you guys. Come on. Right? Like getting on the select committee, like, bro, that is like a tell. Like you're the guy in charge of the cops. Why would a career restaurant guy, like a waiter and a cook in a restaurant, a pizza shop owner, and I've said it before, I'm going to tell it like it is. Pizza was decent, and I'm a pizza connoisseur. We've been through this before, but like I'm telling you. I know people will get mad at me for saying it, but he can make some pizza. But what the hell does that have to do with local politics? Why are you sitting on the select committee? That doesn't make any sense. Why are you making decisions about what the cops are doing with their budget, right? Unless you're just trying to keep your foot in like the power center, right? So that you have some say so as to what's going to happen with the cops, what they're doing, what they're up to. Not to mention that you've become friends with all the cops. You get to know all the local politicians, right? Like, it's so obvious. I mean, it is so obvious, you guys. How obvious is it that these fucking people are I mean, it's just so obvious. Somebody, I don't know who they are, but someone was emailing me, and they were just like really upset because they don't believe that, they believe Karen Read is guilty. And so I kind of was like, all right, well, look, I'll hear you out. Like I told you, if you guys know somebody who like can have a civil conversation and wants to have a reasonable discussion about this topic, I would love to do it. I would invite them on, but they couldn't do it. It was just like, it's basically like name calling. And I'm like, it's a free country. You don't have to listen to a word I say. Like, just don't pay attention and it won't bother you. Hello, there's a concept. But, what they were really, really upset. And I'm thinking like, am I talking to fucking Jennifer? Is this like Chris Albert? Why do you care this much to start calling me names about, unless you're one of them, right? Like it just anyway, but I brought that up because it reminds me of, like how they are so guilty, you guys. They're so guilty. There's so much evidence. This person came at me with these two small things and they're like, yeah, but you're wrong about this and you're wrong about that. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, here's the 72 other things that make me think that they're guilty that has nothing to do with those very small little two things that you just brought up. Right? Like, it is a freaking long list, guys. Someday we can go through that list together, right? But like, it's a fucking long list. It's like really long, really, really, really long. Literally, there's 70 items on it. And that was after the first trial. So like, forget about, I never even went back to add Elizabeth, what's her name? La Fasada. Never even went back to add Elizabeth La Fasada. Chat Signal sends $4.99 and says, IDBH, my favorite channel for FKR and justice for JO. It's really hard to hear so many internet experts doubt real justice will ever come. I know. I'm not as, I think I'm a little bit more hopeful than Aidan is. I see what he's saying. I mean, he's sort of saying practically that the feds like wouldn't have enough, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like just even based, if I was a federal agent and just based on what we do have, like the evidence that we do have, just based on the way that they've treated Aidan, just based on how quickly they went after him, you guys. What the fuck? They went after him, like just they went after him. So the fact that and I brought this up to him too, right? Like nobody ever hit him with a defamation suit. That might be like, if I was looking at that list right now, that might be at the top of the list as like one of the most incriminating details about these people. Like they could have hit him with defamation. And did they do that? No. What did they do? They went and they started advocating the DA to arrest him for something. Well, okay, that's one way to do it. But when you get denied, Chris Albert is denied for a restraining order. Jennifer McCabe is denied for a restraining order. Morrissey isn't doing anything for months and months and months and months. They finally, for whatever reason, God only knows what they have on him. Maybe they've just been donating, and that's a smart thing to do. Maybe we should all start doing that. It wouldn't really work for me because I live in a very big place, but like if you live in a smaller community, just start giving money to the local district attorney if they are an elected official. And then you can just advocate for them to do whatever you want them to do. Oh, great. Good deal. Makes sense. I'm not sure if that's the only factor there. But why? Jennifer McCabe has money. Matt makes a fortune. Why not go after Aidan for defamation? If you passed the lie detector test, Jen, why not sue Aidan? You know why? Because in order to have a defamation suit, you have to be telling the truth. Whatever that person is saying has to be false. That's why. So if you murdered somebody and somebody's screaming and yelling with a megaphone saying you murdered them, you can't sue them for defamation because you did that. And that's exactly what happened with Chris Albert, because he did murder somebody, right? He did murder somebody. And yeah, it was annoying. I'm sure it was horrifying having Aidan throw it in his face in front of his pizza shop with all of his kids and the kids' friends around. And in the same exact way, Jennifer McCabe can't go. And, what is he saying about her? You covered up a murder. You framed an innocent woman. But she did. Right? And no matter, look, whether you can point to whatever you want, you can telematics, which just makes me yawn, key cycles, fine, whatever. But to me, okay, Ian Whiffen says the Google search is whatever. The fact that at 6:23, she is talking to Brian Albert. She's telling us she's standing next to Karen Reed, and Karen Reed is tugging on her shirt saying, Google how long to die in the cold. But where is she really? She's really talking to Brian Albert. Like, that's crazy. Okay. That is crazy. That is crazy. Like, these people are so guilty. They're just so guilty. It's disgusting. It's just disgusting. And it disgusts me over and over. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you know what? You could go watch Tristan Morris's testimony and then Caitlin's right after and see how the two of them have a completely different story about what was going on that night. Like, what the fuck? You don't talk to your husband, fiance, partner about what you're about to say when you go to testify? Like, how did they screw that up? That's the other thing. Brian Albert, you didn't sit your whole family down at the table before you guys all went to testify and say, hey guys, here's the story we're going to tell. I don't know. It's just insane. It's insane. It's insane. Pizza is great. Oh, I love pizza. $1.99, sends $1.99 and says you did a good job at the interview. Thank you. Pizza is great. I love pizza. So we are on the same team 100%. I'm serious. I have a pizza problem. I could eat pizza like all day, every day, and just do that. Sherry D. Hi, Sherry. Sherry sends $10. Thank you, Sherry. And says, fuck yeah, Sam. Amazing chat with Aidan. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was like a little anxious about it because I'm like, there's all this stuff going on in the background, and I'm trying not to pay attention to it because I'm like, I don't even want to know. Like, I don't know what it is. So I'm glad that I got a chance to talk to him about the case, because that's really what I wanted to talk to him about, right? I mean, that's what I care about. I want, I'd like to see justice for John. And listen, I've told a bunch of people this, but a couple of things to look forward to. First, I discovered that, any of us can go to any federal office and advocate for them to do an investigation of a local jurisdiction, no matter how many states they are away from each other. So if I was in Arizona, I could go to our feds, and I don't know how you would do this exactly, and tell them the story about the district attorney outside of Boston, and they are capable of investigating. Whether they would or not, I don't know, but they can. Any federal agency can investigate across state lines. So that's interesting. At least it's a possibility. If you think about it, actually, that's how the opioid crisis started to unravel. It was like a small office out of I don't want to get it wrong, but it was like Rhode Island. It was a really small federal office in a small state that wound up kind of blowing the whistle on the Purdue Pharma OxyContin epidemic. So that's an example of how a little mom and pop shop can kind of take on a very big case, even though it's not necessarily happening in their home turf. So there's some hope. And like I said, I think if we all got together, right, we got our best attorneys like Alan Jackson and we get together and we sit down and we look at the evidence right now, I bet you we could get a jury to find them all guilty. I mean, that's what I think. It would be an interesting exercise to sit down and try to figure that out. Like, if we were really going to try a case against the Alberts, what evidence do we really have that you could present at a trial? It's an interesting question, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. We should think about it, because I kind of wonder, maybe we do, right? Maybe we do have enough. We don't have DNA, right? We don't have the Cellbrite records for Brian Albert, and we don't have geofence data. But the fact that he broke his phone the day before the defense team, the day before they were supposed to come and take it, I mean, that's evidence, right? That's what Hank Brennan liked to call consciousness of guilt. That's evidence. I mean, listen, if I heard that on a jury, I would have that by itself would make me have a heart. That would bring on a doubt. I'd be like, that is shady, right? And you can build a whole case on, look at freaking Donna Adelson. I mean, where was the evidence in that case except for consciousness of guilt evidence, right? I mean, the only thing that they had on Donna was the bump, but that was after the fact. The only thing they had was after the bump. She calls up Charlie and she says, it's something that has to do with you and me. That was the freaking death blow to Donna, right? Unless I'm forgetting something, but I think that that was it. That's what she was convicted on, essentially, right? Yeah. Oh my God. The inverted video. Well, that's the other thing, right? I wonder, oh wait, hold on. House Mouse. Is it a mass speech thing? You guys say written and similar words as yes, I think so. You're saying that me and Aidan say something the same way? It could be a Massachusetts thing. I don't know. You guys say written and similar words as no T sound. Written. I don't know what you're saying exactly. Say it again a different way. It could be. I mean, he's from we're not from anywhere near. I mean, we're, he's from Boston. I'm spent time on the western side of the state, but lived mostly in New York, in and around New York City. But we're both Northeasterners, so maybe a little similar. Sure, could be. He definitely has like a Boston accent for sure. I mean, I'm sure I have some kind of accent, but he definitely has a Boston accent. Yeah. Matt Mello says, yeah, they had emails. Yes. Okay. So wait, you're right. Yeah, but that wasn't Donna. So for Donna, like Charlie had the stapled money, right? And they had her emails about hating Dan, but they didn't have anything that like said she murdered him. Do you know what I'm saying? They had her washing money, or I mean, allegedly. See, that's the thing. Like, there was nobody actually like, there was no like DNA of Donna at the crime scene. It was all just, you know, circumstantial. And I mean, look, I'm not saying it wasn't good evidence. That's my point. My point is it was solid evidence, but I think we have more. We have to take each of them like, okay, Brian Albert, what do you have on Brian Albert? Okay, Jennifer McCabe, they'd have different charges. I mean, you know, but I seriously think that like if you had a solid lawyer and any of the ones that all of us know off the top of our heads would work, you know, I think that we could do it. We could come up with a evidence for sure. Oh, interesting. I see you. I'm trying to get to you about the Canton Select Board meeting. Okay. Jen's dog Jonah sends $9.99 and says, did you watch the Canton Selectmen meeting yesterday? Chris Albert was in the hot seat. A few residents. No, I did not see yesterday's. I did see, though, that the Young Jerks had it to watch. So I did have it on my watch later list, but I didn't see it. I saw I think they always do. Honestly, I think somebody pretty much shows up at every select committee meeting and tortures Chris a little bit. So I saw the one before that where the person, he actually got an exchange with her. I'm sure some of you, we've talked about it, I think. She actually, the last one I saw, a woman stands up at the like open, you know, you can, the very end, they have like open comments or whatever. She stood up, she said something about justice for John and about Chris directly. And then he said something back to her. And I don't remember what it was, but it was an interesting exchange. I clipped it and put it aside for one of my next videos. So I'll take a closer look and I will look at the one from yesterday. But yeah, I mean, look, the thing about Chris, he's got to be careful. Chris is emotional, really emotional. So I don't know why I never put it out, but I did like a assessment of Chris's testimony. It's actually really good. It's just long, and I always feel bad about putting out like 3-hour long videos. So for some reason, I hesitate to do it. But I did a full evaluation of Chris Albert's testimony from the first trial, and there's a lot of really good information in there. And he's so emotional, and he's very impulsive. He also like wears any emotion he has, you can see it on his face and it's immediate, just like Colin. So if you go back and you watch Colin's testimony really carefully, like remember how this is what Alan Jackson is masterful at, this very thing. So he's like, what did he say? He's like, you know, were you threatening those guys to Colin? And he's like, remember, he's like, so wait, so that wasn't a threat. So if somebody came up to you on the street, right? And he's like, this is Alan Jackson talking to Colin. And he's like, and they were like, I'm going to fuck you up, right? Would that be a threat? And first Colin's like doing the like prep school boy thing. And he's like, yeah. And then like his whole face changes. It's like, he gets like serial killer eyes and he's like, like you could see, like he couldn't hide it anymore. Like he did the prep school thing as long as he could, but as soon as Alan's in his face and he's challenging him, he can't control the anger that comes out. Chris is exactly the same way. He has a really hard time. I bet you it's only a matter of time before he steps away, because I think it's probably fucking torture that every time he goes to these select meetings, somebody shows up and without fail, challenge him, bring it up, right? Imagine what that must be like for him. And the thing is, like, for Chris, it's really about protecting Colin. Because I think all of us agree that we don't believe that Chris Albert was the one that killed John O'Keefe. I mean, I think that's pretty safe to say. Oh, that reminds me. All right, guys, question for everybody here. Everybody here that's here. Hi, Twigs. I see you. Hi. Hi, Twigs. I don't see Reynolds. Where is she? Give her some time. She wants it. So where's Reynolds? I don't see you. I will keep an eye out. I promise. So question. All right, I want all your guys' opinions on this because this just came to me. Do you think there's any possibility at all why? No, do you think there's any possibility? That's right, I got distracted. Do you think there's any possibility that the garage door was open at the Albert home on the night in question? Did that make sense? Do you think there's any possibility that the garage door was left open? That's the question. Sherry says, John Comey, his ex-wife, his stepsister spoke at CA after Chris called John this past son, accused John of sending pics to John's daughter. What are we talking about right now? I missed something. John Comey, his ex-wife, his stepdaughter spoke at Canton. I don't know what this is about. Let me see if I can backtrack. Okay. All right, we'll do it. Go straight away and watch Canton meeting last PM. Got it. Okay. Okay, so it's important to watch. Is that what we're saying? Yes. Oh. Oh. Is that true? No. Okay. Days of care. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to find Reynolds. That's what I'm doing. Melissa Reynolds, because there's nothing they can do. They know the truth. No one was charged except Karen Reed. The days of Karen and her lawyers threatening people are enough. She won. Because there's nothing they can do. They know the truth. No one was charged except Karen Reed. Who knows the truth? Who knows the truth? Who's they? Like the cops you're talking about? Oh, she left. Okay. I'm sorry I missed it. I would have, obviously engaged it. I just didn't see it. Nope. Melissa's still here? Melissa Reynolds, it's really hard for anyone else to be charged. All right. F.R. Smith at Melissa Reynolds. It's really hard for anyone else to be charged when all the evidence of the crime is hidden and the major players, not Carrie. Well, no, Carrie is not involved in any of the. No. Nobody thinks that Carrie's. Nobody thinks that Carrie did anything nefarious, right? As far as I know, I don't know anybody who thinks that Carrie. I think Carrie was, exactly what you see is what you get. Not much suspense there. Yeah, I think she's been pretty straightforward, right? Sherry, what did you just say about this? Yeah, it was all right. It sounds like we've got some things to do. I've got some tasks. Melissa Reynolds. So Melissa Reynolds is really Carrie Roberts' cousin. Well, hi, Melissa. Welcome. You're welcome here, of course, if that's true. And yeah, I will tell you, I do not believe that Carrie Roberts, of course, had any ill intent and did anything to hurt John O'Keefe. I think that's obvious, but hopefully that's obvious. And I'm happy to talk about the case. My God, Melissa, if you want to have a chat, I'm happy to do it anytime, of course, provided that, it's not just doesn't devolve into like you're stupid and stupid name calling, stupid nonsense. But of course, yeah. I see Twigs. Where are you, dear? Hold on. I'm seeing there's so much happening. I'm trying to get to everybody. You need Twigs, Sam, yes. I sent you the photos of Fairview. There's plenty of room on the right side of the house for Higgins' Jeep. Oh, that's it. Okay, so you're talking about, I was thinking about the actual garage. Does anybody know, I know that the whole family, right? So everybody in the whole family said that they didn't use the garage for cars, that it was like a storage facility. But then I realized somewhat recently, we don't know that I mean, how could we ever have known that that's true, right? So that's just made me think that because look, the idea is that there is a ledge in the garage. It does match the injury to John O'Keefe, right? To the back of his head. There's that weird red paint, which is so sus. Obviously, we've all seen the images of the garage. The challenge there for me is how do you get into the garage? John O'Keefe would not have he's not a dum-dum. I mean, he wouldn't have gone into the garage. Why would he do that unless somebody was like, hey, come here, So I just didn't see any way to get him into the garage unless maybe the door was open. The door was open to the actual garage, and then there were cars parked, obviously, at them, right? I don't know. Just a thought, just an idea. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it was just a thought. All right, so we've got a lot to do, you guys. It sounds like we got to check out this Canton meeting. Now I'm freaking very curious. Yeah, I think Chris is going to have a hard time in that spot. He's going to continue to have a hard time in that spot because it just keeps coming up. And as I said, it seems to me to be a very emotional guy. Cannot be easy. Imagine that. Imagine you're going to work and every time you go, somebody could show up from the community and, I don't know, just cause trouble, I guess. I mean, they're not going to hurt him or anything like that, but, it's confrontation. Like the average person, most people, we don't want confrontation, right? We don't want to fight. It's just not, most of us don't want that. It's not, we don't go around enjoying the possibility of getting into some kind of a fight or being attacked, even if it's just verbally. So I imagine that's got to be fucking very tough. Yeah. Yes. Right. So absolutely. And again, I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to do the backwards math on that. All right, if there's a ledge, right, where the defense was exhibiting photos, okay, the ledge matches, but how would he have gotten to that place? How would John O'Keefe have gotten into that garage in the time frame that we have? Because it's really short. It's really, really short. Right? It's a really small amount of time. What is it, 10 minutes? Hold on, Twigs. I'm coming. They said the side door. Sam, they said the side door, he'd never been there. The side-facing door is the garage door. I'm about to email you a link to open now, please. So I will take a look. The problem is on this computer, the second that I open up, if I leave you guys and I go to open up something else, it seems to crash whatever we're doing, which is why I actually didn't play links tonight because I was afraid that it would crash out and then I would lose Aidan. So it's good that he did because I didn't have to. But I will take a look on my phone for sure. Right. So, and I know that, there was a couple of suspicious moments about the side door. I mean, listen, it was very suspect. The whole side door thing is a suspect conversation. I am just trying to figure out, Okay, you tell me. So you go up, you know the house layout, right? You walk, someone drops you off anywhere in front of that house and says, "Okay, go inside and see what's going on." You think there's a party in there. Which of the 3 doors that you can see would you choose? Which of the 3 doors would you go to? I think that's the kind of the question. In other words, that's kind of the question. Okay. I'm checking now. I'm checking. Okay. So, let's take a look. Yes. All right. So, yes. So we're looking at the house photos. You guys have seen these. I know, I'm 90% sure everybody's seen the house photos. So the question is, right, like I said, if you're looking at all 3 of those, let me see if I can put it up for everybody to see. I'm going to try to bring it up and hopefully I don't lose y'all. All right. So if you are, take a look here. All right, let me pull this up so you guys can take a look. Copy. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay. So if you are, hopefully you can hear me. Here we go. So here's the house, right? And I'm sure for some reason I can't. On my phone, I was able to click so I could show you each picture. For some reason on this computer, it's not letting me do it. Oh. So annoying. It's not letting me zoom in. There it is. Hey, all right. I don't know. You guys can't really see it there, but you get the idea, right? There's room, and Twigs, I think what you're saying is that there's room where he could have been parked over here. Is I think what you're saying. There was room for a car to be over on the right, and actually, we know that Matt McCabe talks about that in his testimony. He actually says that there was enough room for 3 lines of cars, and so that you could have been parked in front of one of the 2 doors, but that actually there was a 3rd option. And I think cars were parked. I got to go. I can't remember. I feel like I want to say that they were parked along the side of that grass area on the other side of the driveway, but I don't remember. Have to take a look. So remember, the other thing about this photo, it does not accurately capture how small this lawn is. Like, one of the most striking things about being in front of 34 Fairview is just it's unavoidably striking. After looking at pictures of the house day after day, right, week after week, is how small the lawn is. It's small, like shocking, like to the point where 2 of me laying, kind of like foot to head, we would be at the front steps. It's really small. And if you haven't seen, I was going to bring this up to Aidan because it was one of those moments where, boy, is this tough to argue with, right? Where Aidan takes his Lexus and he tries to drive in reverse at almost like 67 feet. This was, first Commonwealth theory about how far the car went in reverse, and which it's absurd. It's not possible. Not even a race car driver could get up to the speed that they're claiming in the amount of distance that was given. But he was going, I think, like 15 or 14, 15 miles per hour. And what we discovered from that exercise is that 34 Fairview Road is on a curve, a really hard curve. So anybody that's pulled up on the other side of 32 and tries to go backwards at a high rate of speed would have been up onto the lawn, like straight onto the lawn. And of course, we know Jennifer McCabe tells us she's staring out the window at that very moment, not to mention like the Nagel people are right there. And like, there's a house full of folks. Nobody hears anything. Nobody sees anything. That by itself, I even just seeing what happens when you try to drive at a high rate of speed, it just for 70 feet, and how impossible that was, not to mention it was dark out. There'd be brake lights. You would hear the car. I mean, why would somebody just stand there and wait to get hit by a car? The whole thing. And the absurdity is just boundless. But that was just, for me at the time, like a home run of absurdity. Like, okay, this just didn't happen, right? Fundamentally didn't happen. And then of course by the second trial, they like expanded the distance so that it became kind of like somewhat more possible. But again, you'd have to be like a fucking race car driver to be driving that, that high rate of speed in that amount of time, 26 miles per hour. And we saw from, the crash test daddies that what happens if you get hit by a car at 26 miles per hour. You don't get tossed. If you get clipped, like Hank Brennan likes to say, you don't get thrown 30 feet across the lawn or 8 feet across. You don't get thrown anywhere. You would just turn and then fall. Right? Or you would get hit and go flying backwards if it was a center of mass hit. So, I mean, look, there was no car accident. So come up with something else. There's no car accident. So if you're going to say that Karen did this, you better find another way for it to have happened, because there was no car accident. It's not possible. There's no way for taillight pieces to get on his clothing. It's not possible. Right? I feel like we've already litigated this enough. Oh my God, you guys. All right, let me try to get out of here. I got to use StreamYard more because it's like I have to relearn every week how to use freaking StreamYard. Okay, well, let me see. So Twig sends $5 and says, remember Jen pretending not to know the door? Yes, of course. Oh my God, are you kidding? That's like almost as good as the we're just normal moms. That's like one of my favorite moments. I have that like on an audio loop. The oh my God, there is. Oh my God, there is another door. It's like, Jen. Oh my God. At that point, I almost felt bad for her, right? I really, I almost did, because it's just like, oh my God, this is disaster is what it is. It's really a disaster. It was, a total and complete tell is what it was. How many times do you think that she had been at her sister's house? Remember, that was like Brian Albert's childhood home. So, and Jen knows Brian from the time they were like 8. I think they were not even before that. I think they were in kindergarten together, if I remember correctly. They've known each other their whole lives. She's probably been there before her sister was even married to him. She knows that house. She knows there's a fucking garage door. Hello? Yeah, that was just like one of those moments, again, in real time, where I happened to see it as it was happening and was like, did anyone else hear that? And just started freaking out. by myself, like, what? Like I said, the case just keeps on giving. There's just such an abundance of stuff. So you know what though? I'm gonna consider that. I have such a long list of stuff to do, you guys. It's like insane. So my to-do list on my end is I'm going to check out the Canton Select Board meeting, and certainly Ms. Reynolds, if she hears me or ever hears me, you can email me anytime, and I will happily have a discussion with you any way that you would like, in any way that you're comfortable to discuss it. That's the best way I can say it, right? The best way I can say it. And, oh, I'm so glad you said that, Twigs. So, sidebar, did everybody know this? There's an actual campaign to get the sidebars, and it's like underway. So there's a legitimate active lawsuit to try to get those try to get the sidebars. That is going to be one hell of a fucking day when we get those sidebars. Could you imagine the treasure trove of stuff that's going to be in there? Can you imagine? You know how many days that's going to take up of my life just listening to sidebars? Oh my God. I can't wait. It's like so exciting. I can't even take it. Andy School says, I read JOK lip saying twice to Higgins, I'll see you there, in footage from the bar before guys left. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I believe that. I could see that. That makes sense. So John is saying to Brian Higgins. So this is another thing I was going to bring up to Aidan, but I just forgot. We were on a call, a bunch of us. I'm sure some of you guys were there, or on a live stream. And we were talking about the possibility that maybe what happens in the bar at the waterfall is that, like, Higgins tells, Albert and Nicole about the text with Karen. And then it becomes like a Mean Girls thing where it's like they're trying to find a way to protect John and tell him about the texts. In other words, like, Higgins is kind of saying, screw Karen, here are the texts, and everybody then wants to help John and try to kind of separate Karen away so that they can tell him about the texts, and that's what goes wrong at the house. That's like a legitimate suggestion that people have made. And I think that's a legitimate theory. Totally legitimate theory. I'm slurring, Joller says. Joller. Well, I am as drug-free as they get. So if I'm slurring, it's probably because I'm tired and talking really fast. But that's the best I got. Certainly not because of drugs. I haven't done drugs, dear, in many, many moons. Many, many moons. But yeah, I am tired. I am absolutely tired. That absolutely. And I feel like I'm just like I got like kind of like a rasp. My throat is kind of raspy right now, and I just my lips are dry. Everything is dry. My hands are dry. I don't know what that's about. Maybe that's part of it too, but it's not drugs. That I can promise you. Okay. Chat Signal says, why would any family member stick their neck out to protect Higgins? That alone makes, that alone makes me sus about Brian Albert plus his a-hole violent history. Why would any family member stick their neck out to protect Higgins? That alone makes me sus about Brian Albert plus his a-hole violent history. This is an issue. I mean, this is a discussion that I think we've all had, right? Many times. That's another reason why Colin gets re-brought into the fold over and over again, right? Because it's like, here's what I'll say. The dog would be one answer to that, right? So like it wasn't just Brian Higgins. It would have also had to have been the dog. So that's one possibility. But I think to your point, chat signal, that's exactly why people keep going back to Colin. Because why the hell would the Alberts? I mean, to me, the whole thing is absurd. Because even if it was Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, or, they could have just said that it was them, even if it was Colin. Brian Albert, Brian Higgins could have just said, we did this. We're police officers. He came at us. We hit him. He hit his head. He fell. They're not going to get believed. I mean, the whole thing is absurd. Like, they could have gotten out of it. They could have just walked out of it. Right? Even if they had admitted what they had done. So I don't understand it. I think that none of it makes 100% sense because I think alcohol is a part of the story. So I think no matter like how much we try to, like, why would they protect him? I have no idea. But I also think they could not have been thinking clearly. I mean, obviously, right? There's just no way. There's no way. There's no way they could have been thinking clearly. Right? Bottom line. Because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. These are like two very well-respected cops in their own right. Like Higgins in his own right and Brian Albert in his own right. Had they just said it was an accident, nothing would have come of it. They would have walked out, no problem. Even if they took the fall for Colin. So I've never understood. Right. This never really made sense to me, but I do think that alcohol is part of it. And who knows? I mean, who knows? Who knows how all of us act in a situation like that? I mean, John O'Keefe was a police officer, right? He was a police officer. Liz Rose says, yeah, I think they covered the situation because Colin was involved and it was his house and his dog, because even if it was an accident, it's still manslaughter. Yeah, right. And that's what I was saying. Like, look, I don't know. How do I know the way I would have behaved in that situation, right? I mean, I have some idea. I could guess, but I don't know if my father and his buddy are law enforcement, or my brother is a law enforcement, and we're all hanging out at the house and something like this goes down. What gets me though about this is the part that's just nuts, right? So let's think about it. You gotta you sit down and look at the timeline. We're talking about 10 minutes, you guys? 10 minutes? Because we've been through this before, but the first two texts from Jen McCabe, right? They are legit. Those are real. Those were legitimate discussions when she says, here, ? Right? And then park behind me or pull up behind me. Those actually were legit. There's another set 10 minutes later. Those are not. Those are another thing. So that means that this whole thing had to have happened between the last text and then the next one, right? The next set. That's crazy. That's really fast. Whatever happened, it must have happened really, really fast. It's hard to imagine what it could have been and why they didn't just own it, right? Why don't you just fucking own it, bro? Own it. Twig sends $5, says Colin saw Higgins outside when he was leaving. Colin saw Higgins outside when he was leaving, whether it was Chris, Julie, or Allie. Colin saw Higgins outside when he was leaving. Also, they knew there was video of the waterfall argument. Oh, that's interesting. Colin saw... or Allie. That's true. They did know there was video of the waterfall. But I mean, what's really interesting about that? That really didn't come out until the second trial. That almost slid under the radar. That was really microdots, right? Because that didn't come up during the first trial. And I really think it was microdots that pointed it out in between the two trials. And then it came into the fold in the second. So that might have slipped past people's radar. I was gonna also ask Aidan, and I forgot to do it. Maybe I'll text him or email about this. Did anybody go around to the bars and talk to the bartenders, the band? Did anybody actually speak to them and say, you know, did you see anything? Did you see any fighting? Did you see any motioning? Did you, you know, did anybody ever do that? I mean, we know the cops probably didn't, but like, did anybody else? It might be interesting to just know, like, who were the bartenders that night? Did the bartenders see them? Because there was like what, a few band guys, like there was like what, 2, 3 band guys like putting their stuff away at that time, it looks like. Right around the time when like Higgins is walking out, John is paying the check. Maybe that's like a little bit after that. I don't have to look at it again. But there's a band that's breaking down their instruments right around that same time. Those would be the people to ask because they're right in front of Brian Higgins in that video. Those are the guys right in front of him. It's an interesting question. The questions, you know what? They never stop. They never stop. There's just, and I'll never forget too, like when I heard Dr. La Posada's testimony in the second trial, sometimes you get new information that we just don't have. And then it's like one little thing and then everything fills in, right? Everything like comes together. So when she said, there was no hypothermia, like he was not left to die. He was dead. He died right away. All of a sudden it changed everything for me. And I was able to see that, oh, well, the reason why the people in the house didn't murder him in that they left him outside to die. He died and they had to leave him outside. That's a very different, I know it sounds the same, but there are completely different circumstances, right? Like situation A, what kind of a human being am I if I'm allowing somebody to just like die in the cold? Like that's just cruel, horrible, evil. But if somebody dies like quick, right? If somebody takes a punch, falls, hits their head and they're dead, then you put them outside to make it look like they fell or hit their head or got hit by a plow and died in the cold. That's a different story. And that's why Jen McCabe is Googling how long to die in the cold, because they're looking for a way to cover up what happened. But it was Dr. La Posada who said that. And it was like, oh my God. I mean, look, there was no frostbite on John. Like, hello, of course he wasn't left out in the cold. He was dead. Like, it was obvious right in front of our faces because you know how quickly you guys know, but you know how quickly you get frostbite? Frostbite comes in like 7 minutes. I mean, there's no way that wearing nothing in a nor'easter, 9 degrees outside, laying in the snow, the body didn't have frostbite. There's no way that's possible. Unless he was dead. It didn't happen, right? But that changed everything. And my point is, all we need is like a few little pieces of information that we don't have. Because I think we're still a few short of details that we need to fill in the whole puzzle. The Alberts knew the argument happened and that it was on video, even though the video wasn't available. That's why prosecutors asked everyone about the mood. Oh. Maybe. I wonder if, you think Lally must have known then too, you're saying. God, I have such a thorn in my side for that guy. He's such a just. Yeah, I have vendettas with Adam Lally because, at least Hank Brennan was real clear. Like he was straight up. He was in your face. This is what he is. Hank Brennan is exactly what you see is what you get, right? Lally is slimy. Like Lally, he's shifty. He uses that he looks unassuming and he's boring. And so you kind of don't even pay attention after a while to what he's saying. And he kind of counts on that. So, I don't know. There's few people in the world that know this case better than Adam Lally. He tried the entire first case himself, and there were 60 witnesses. Like he knows what happened. I don't know. I don't know if Hank Brennan, maybe Hank Brennan, I wouldn't be surprised if Hank is the kind of lawyer who doesn't even ask. He doesn't even want to know. He doesn't want to know what really happened. He's just like, here's what I'm going to argue. The family wants me to argue this. That's what I'm going to do. That's what he did. I don't even think he asked the question, like, who really did this? But Adam Lally, I think he knows. He's just like the scum of the earth to me. I'm really appalled by him. I really am. Oh, all right, you guys, I gotta go. I gotta get to bed. I'm like, somebody pointed out, I'm tired. I am really tired. My throat, my voice is going. And yeah. So if to all of my potential Jewish friends in the chat, hopefully you have a good Yom Kippur tomorrow if you celebrate. And I will be, as soon as I can, probably first thing tomorrow, looking at the Canton Select Board meeting. Very interesting. And I will be going back and looking at all that testimony that I mentioned, including, I don't remember when Brian Higgins was on the stand with Yannetti. Why am I blanking on that? Maybe I saw it and I don't remember it, but I'm like totally blanking on when that happened. And so I'm going to go back and look for that as well. So you guys, you're the best. I adore you all. I thank you so, so much for your time, your energy, your effort, your support. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully I will see you guys back here again next week. And there may be a few others, a few other surprise folks coming soon. Love you too, sister. Goodbye. Goodbye. Good night, everybody. Bye, you guys. Goodbye. Bye, bye, everybody. Bye, bye.